Welcome back to the Second and Short podcast where the entire playbook is open. I'm Josiah.
I'm Jacob.
I'm Eli.
And I'm Hayden.
For those of you who like to listen to audio only, the link for the Spotify will be in the description.
So did you guys do your homework? What do you have to report back to me about Sketch this week?
I wasn't here. I didn't have homework.
Do you know what happened with Sketch?
I'm aware of Sketch. I'm aware of his
Antics.
previous background. He's changed, man. He's
Is he
reformed.
changed?
He's reformed. That's what he says.
I thought we were accepting him for who he is now.
Oh, I'm accepting of him.
But you just said he changed.
Well, he's reformed.
Okay.
What's this
From his-
podcast about?
Football.
Football.
Yeah.
Football.
Yeah.
We're almost there. NCAA came out.
Oh,
Naples, first review of NCAA.
exceeding the hype.
Exceeded.
Exceeding the hype.
Better
And
than-
it's.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say for as hyped up as a game and the anticipation for it, it has lived up and exceeded because a lot of times a lot of games
See,
you
that's
hype
what
it
I'm
up.
worried about. I think it'll be fun, but how popular it already is before it even came out made me nervous
See.
and kind of turned off.
Yeah, I was worried about that, but I've been playing it and all I want to do is play NCAA. It's that fun.
Have you
So-
done Road to Glory yet?
I haven't done Road to Glory yet. That's gonna be probably a little later down the line.
How's
when
your
I have to-
GPA gonna be? Are you gonna focus on school, focus on partying?
We're gonna
focus
do
on
it
the
all.
girls,
We're
SEC
fine.
girls?
So-
3, just what you need to pass.
So Pastronaut type vibes. We're gonna go Josh Dobbs. We're gonna dominate off the field, on the field, extracurriculars. All the stuff that he's getting into. So that's gonna be it's gonna be my lifestyle. Is the dauber.
So question, is it that much better than Madden?
It feels better than the last few Maddens, at least.
Because in the last few
The last few Maddens have been pretty mid, pretty underwhelming.
Yeah.
I'm still a big Madden guy, so no matter what, I'm gonna have fun.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely feels even the gameplay feels smooth. The defense, although people say defense is hard this year, a lot of the stuff feels changed. Zones feel like they play a lot better. It feels balanced. It feels like college football. You get into shootouts, you have the better players feel better. Where in Madden, you have these random players that are
If you're fast, you're
exactly
good.
they get a decent card, and then all of a sudden they feel like they can compete with Jalen Ramsey covering them. In this game, it's okay, I have this Travis Hunter card. If there's a bad corner on him, he should be cooking him. He's gonna have his big games.
Is kicking as hard as it sounds?
Kicking stuff is shit. If it's
I
a
saw that one video.
oh my gosh,
Like a
It's
60 yarder.
oh
is
my gosh,
It's like Drake in that video.
dude,
what are we doing?
30.
This is good stuff. This is
35
good content
yards.
right now.
35 yards or further right now for the kicker I have in Ultimate Team. No can do. It's a 1% chance of me making it. I had to figure out the kicking meter. You have to time it, but then hold the button down after you press it. It's not a double tap or anything.
It's a power meter.
Yeah, exactly. Once I figured that out, extra points are easy. Anything 35, I'm just wide left, wide right. There's no kicking arc. So it's literally you just have to eye gauge it with the arrow. So it's I don't even know if I'm lining it up in the middle of the crossbar, if
That's
I'm
fun
on the
'cause now
hash.
you can't just play for that field goal with 7 minutes
No.
left and shoot clock
No,
on.
you
and run the
can't.
ball
And
out.
I feel like that is college football.
Yep,
I
yeah.
feel like every
Mm-hmm.
these college kickers stats are 3 for 9, and they're this is
Yeah.
one of the top recruits in the country.
You'll have
This
a
guy was
like-
amazing.
You'll have
Yeah.
a guy bang a 70-yarder, and then the next game he'll miss
Yeah.
a
And triple
25.
point, yeah.
No, and I think one thing after playing NCAA now, especially with that kicking stuff, it makes you think about Madden, and it's these dudes are professionals. I should be able to make pretty much all my kicks within 40, 50 yards because NFL kickers are doing that. So it kind of changes your perspective too. It's
Yeah,
NCAA
50-yarder in
yeah.
the NFL is automatic
exactly.
at this point in
You look at
2024.
Roberto Aguayo, perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Was just a stud in college. All of a sudden gets taken in the second round, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, by
Early-
the Tampa Bay
early
Buccaneers,
second.
and awful, just terrible in the NFL.
Do you remember the kicker who was picked higher than him in 1999 or 2000?
Just Janikowski, wasn't it?
Sebastian
His
Janikowski.
first-
Yeah, he
was
panned
first or
out,
was
though.
gonna
He was
second?
first rounder,
He panned out though.
and he was not even the best kicker drafted by the Raiders that year. Shane Leckler was drafted in the 5th round.
Wasn't he the punter though?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so kicking specialist.
Yeah, dude, they were both so good.
Shane
Yeah.
Leckler, top 3.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Leckler, I think one day in Canton.
Yeah.
Janikowski in my
Which right now,
infamous Hall of Very
Yeah.
Good.
the only punter in the Hall is Ray Guy, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think-
Yeah,
Very
that sounds
good.
right. Only pure punter.
Yeah.
George Blanda, I think, also from the Raiders,
I think-
obviously
yeah.
played
I thought
like
he
kicker,
plays
quarterback.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
played
Yeah.
quarterback. Yeah.
I think the only true place kicker is Morton Anderson.
Yeah, Morton Anderson.
Is the
The
only
Saints.
pure place kicker
Mm-hmm.
in the Hall. So,
Interesting.
yeah, awesome.
Look at that. That was good content, Eli.
I'm good with I was good with 99% of that
He just-
conversation.
He just all of a sudden, it just took a little bit of a turn.
Yeah, they did.
It did.
A little left turn.
Left
Josie,
hanging a little
we've
left.
been talking about it. The
Yeah.
Patrick Queen jersey came. I was obviously showing off the Pat McAfee jersey last week.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Queen, show him the back. Show him the back.
The
Show us the
queen.
caboose.
Our
Show us the
queen.
caboose.
Our
Woo!
queen right there. That's right.
That's right, exactly. So I got this and I was super excited because I also found out today that the Steelers, for the first time in 8 years, are doing preseason game scrimmages for the first time in the
Buffalo.
last 8 years. They're doing Buffalo, and my buddy from work and I, Nick, shout out Nick, is a huge Buffalo Bills fan, and so I as soon as I found it out, I called him. I was like, dude, we gotta go to this.
Oh, that's
And he's like,
awesome.
oh yeah, and you could probably get like signatures and stuff too. I was like, trying to get Patrick Queen signed this jersey at Latrobe. So we'll see.
That's
It's
cool.
still in its infancy stages of even talking about it, but that would be pretty dope.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't realize the Steelers did do that. I feel like I felt
Yeah.
like every team just did that.
Yeah, no, the Steelers have it for at least the last 8 years, to my knowledge.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Browns did it last year with the Eagles, or like no, we did it 2 years ago with the Eagles because we did it the year they made it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, nice.
Well, let's get going with the actual podcast. I feel like we've been doing this for months while also we just started it. But we're continuing the most iconic players to wear numbers 0 through 99, part 8 now? We're doing the 80s. We've known for a while that the 80s were going to be a long conversation, a long episode. We already started debating before the episode even began, before the camera started rolling. I'm excited. Number 80, probably the easiest one to do.
Really,
Some
you think
names
so?
on there.
I
I know it. Yeah.
So, before Josie lists out who else we have, I think Jerry Rice is arguably the greatest football player of all time.
Yeah.
I think him, Jim Brown, Lawrence Taylor, and Tom Brady. I think
Yeah.
that those are the guys. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, probably
Yeah.
soon. But just an absolute weapon. This guy was putting up a 1,000-yard season in his 40s. He did it with multiple quarterbacks, multiple teams. Jerry Rice just deserves... I feel like people have almost undervalued Jerry Rice. He is still that much better than even the next best receivers. He's that much better than Randy Moss. He's that much better than Terrell Owens. He's that much better than Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
He's the GOAT receiver for sure, but is he the most iconic?
And in the 2000s.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Oh,
and how
shoot.
long did he play into the 2000s?
I
Right? Didn't he
just-
retire in like 03, 04?
2004.
04,
I'm,
so-
I'm looking at it here.
Oh,
Or
yeah, I
2000.
was saying no way.
Yeah.
So here's
Yeah.
the question we have, and
Okay.
I'm looking. I literally have this in front of me right now. So he since 2000, so in the years he only played one of those years for San Fran.
Yeah, that's where.
01 through 04 was spent with the Raiders.
He was
Oh,
nice with the Raiders. He
Yeah,
got
I
him
know,
to
I
a
know.
Super
He was
You
all
Bowl.
the
don't. You
Raiders.
don't. You never think
one
you hear
year,
his name Raiders
1 year with
right
Seattle,
off the top of your head.
and 1 year with Denver as the practice squad
Yeah.
or
Yeah, he
I
retired in
knew
the
he went to Seattle,
preseason
but I
because he was going to be a wide
And
receiver.
so, based on all those things, he only played for the Niners up until 2000, which he's definitely most iconic for being
Yeah,
known
for
with
the
the Niners. Like, yes, he was nice with the Raiders. He was nice through his whole career. That's the point of
Yeah.
Jerry Rice. Is for the 20 years he played, he was the best receiver in all of football for 20 years. So don't discredit his 2000 through
Right.
2004. But
Don't forget it.
if we're talking about iconic, he was iconic with the Niners, and he didn't really play for them.
All right, I'm looking forward to hearing these names because
Yeah.
even with me slipping up there, I'm going to have a hard time being off the Jerry Rice.
And I literally put his name's first on this list, and I put 04 in parentheses afterwards.
Yeah.
Because, he did play through 2004.
Yeah.
But, there's some names on here now. We're going
There.
through this list. So, Jimmy Graham, or number 80.
Yeah.
Jarvis Landry.
Mm.
Danny Amendola.
Juice.
Victor Cruz.
Love
Julius Thomas. Malcolm Floyd. Andre Johnson.
Andre Johnson.
Brandon Stokely. Plexico Burris. Donald Driver. Jeremy Shockey. Isaac Bruce. Rod
Yeah.
Smith. Desmond Howard, Chris Carter.
Chris Carter.
Desmond Howard and Chris Carter only played till 02 and 01, but I think they're at least honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Sean McDermott.
Sean McDermott.
In
go.
like 2001, he
Let's go.
played for like one season and he
So
won.
I knew that he played for William and Mary. I never knew that he got to the pros.
Unless it's, I didn't actually click on the name to see if it was him, but I just kind of assumed like shout out to Sean McDermott. But I mean, there's some absolute names on here. I mean,
Yeah.
just going through the guys like Jimmy Graham, everybody
Jimmy
knows how
Graham,
good
yeah.
he was, especially in his time spent in.
Yeah, it's not the Sean McDermott.
It's not the Sean McDermott. Okay.
tight end from
Well, we can erase
Kansas.
this.
We can
We can
erase
erase
it.
his name then.
Shout out Sean McDermott,
Yeah, right.
friend of the show.
Gonna be
Yeah.
fired after this year.
I mean, Victor Cruz.
Love Victor.
You want to talk about a big market guy
Yeah.
who's got a ton of rapport
The
there?
That was
salsa.
a long
Ju-
snapper
yeah.
too.
Julius Thomas, like, yes, he was somewhat of a product of the Peyton Manning era
Yeah.
because of what he did, and like I think Jacksonville after that was kind of like,
Yeah, and then
but-
Miami.
I mean, like, Andre Johnson just got in the Hall, so that's an
Yeah,
added thing to
Andre
his.
Johnson's
The
good.
fight, the iconic fight, everybody knows
Beat
about.
the brakes
Beats
off
by
Cortland
Dre.
again.
Yes, everybody knows about Beats by Dre. Brennan Stokely, Jeremy Shockey,
Shocking
like that.
sense, yeah.
Isaac Bruce, Rod. I mean, there's names on here.
A lot of guys in the Hall of Very Good.
Yeah.
A few guys in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Jerry Rice is arguably the greatest football player of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he did enough in the 2000s. Give me Jerry Rice.
He's
You want to
still
steal Jerry Rice?
I'm
Yeah.
between
So-
three guys
yeah.
and none of them are Jerry.
I'm
Rice.
between three guys and none of them are Jerry Rice. Who are your three guys?
My three: Jimmy Graham.
Yep.
I think Victor Cruz, the salsa just
Okay.
Victor
dominated,
Cruz, too.
and I think Andre Johnson was up there with Calvin.
We're
for
on
a
the
couple
exact
years.
same wavelength with
Yeah.
those three people.
I'm kind of tempted Victor Cruz, honestly.
I think Victor
Like,
Cruz
the
because
salsa that year was nuts.
and the only reason I think well, not the only reason, but one of the reasons I think Victor Cruz kind of gets up there is you go back to that clip of who were the Giants playing in that preseason game, and Victor Cruz like was on the field.
The
and
Jets.
The Jets.
'Cause
And,
Rex Ryan's,
Rex
like,
Ryan was
fawning
talking
over him.
about him. Yeah, and like that clip when I like thinking about it. And he goes, "Who's that number 80 out there?" He's just one hand grab, runs down the sideline. It's like
Mhm.
I don't know if I could go him, but
He had
he's
like 3
tempted.
touchdowns that game, didn't he? Something insane.
something
like
crazy.
that. Something wild.
Because that was one of the years the Jets were on Hard Knocks. That's
Mhm.
why that clip
Yeah.
is so well
Mhm.
out there.
Yeah. There's so many names on this list.
I mean,
I think
Jimmy
I'm more
Graham.
between Jimmy and Andre.
Yeah.
Josie, you don't get to be
Yeah.
silent over there. You haven't given
Yeah,
us
Josie.
your
Oh,
anybody.
I already have a
Oh,
thought process.
oh.
I'm just waiting for you two.
Well, let's
Because if you guys
let's
all
hear
go
this out.
3 different people, like I'm gonna have to be the tiebreaker.
Well, let's hear
Well,
your
let,
thought
yeah,
process.
like talk
I mean,
it out.
I'm along the same lines as you are with those 3 guys.
With those 3 guys?
specifically. I listen. All flowers in the world to Jerry Rice. He is the greatest of all time. I
Yeah.
do believe that, and he will be just not just based on, but nobody's ever gonna play 20 years again. I felt like Larry Fitzgerald was in the league forever. He played 17
That sounds
seasons.
right.
Yeah, and he was
So
still
like he came close.
1,000 yard receiving
That's what
yards.
I'm saying.
and
It's like
season
the these hospital throws nowadays. Like you've heard Tom Brady talk about it, where like quarterbacks are setting their players up to get injured, and like the throws that they make and different things like that.
Yeah.
It's like we're seeing a shorter span of receivers, I think, than we ever have. Like these young guys are coming in and starting right away. Your Justin Jeffersons, your Jamar
Yeah.
Chases, Marvin Harrison, already being touted as like the great one.
Yeah.
Right? Like he hasn't even played a single snap of football yet. I mean, these guys' careers went from 2015 down to like, I mean, is it going to be like 10 years? Is their entire career?
Yeah.
So like they're not touching any of these Jerry numbers. So like all credit to Jerry. I just think that his iconic days were with the
Yeah,
Niners.
the
So I think
Niners.
that's outside of that. I mean, I'm in the same boat. Jimmy Graham, Victor Cruz, and Andre Johnson. I
Yeah.
think that of those 3. I mean, I'll just say it. I'll go before you guys. I mean, Hall of Fame to me is a lot in that, and the fight and everything. I'm going Andre Johnson.
Andre Johnson.
I think of those 3. There's a thought process in my head, but it's
Yeah.
clearly Andre Johnson.
Yeah.
It's
I think-
clearly Andre.
I think I'm along the same lines of Andre Johnson being like my guy for number 80. Like you think about just like his little nose tape on, like you just like
Mhm.
instantly like 80. I can like picture exactly how Andre Johnson wore number 80 with Houston.
Yep.
Quick shout out to Jarvis Landry.
Oh, for sure.
You know,
absolutely. He was a dog
Toughness,
with
yeah, he was a dog with Miami. He wore number 80 with the Browns though. He wore 14 in Miami. So when
That's right.
when he got to the Browns, but you remember on Hard Knocks, you know,
Mhm.
we're talking about practice. You know, it's contagious.
Mhm.
Just like that clip with on Hard Knocks and stuff, and just like his work ethic, like
Oh, for
on and
sure.
off the field, was like super awesome to see. But like, I feel like it's really between Andre Johnson and Jimmy Graham because Jimmy Graham was just so dominant. And like this, all like him,
Rule
like
change.
rule change with the field goal post, and like there's so many iconic things with him. But like I think Andre Johnson has just as many, so I feel like I would lean more towards Andre.
Jimmy Graham also off the field does like crazy stuff. Like he bikes around the world. Like he's doing
wild.
like
He's
all
an athlete.
kinds of like
So here's
X Games
so
type
Jimmy
stuff.
works with at-risk youth and military veterans through the Jimmy Graham Foundation.
You
Two-time
really want
Walter
Jimmy
Payton.
Graham? You're going deep into the
Pilot,
Yeah.
Yeah.
co-chairman of something, along with an aerobatic champion, Sean Tucker of the Experimental Aircraft Association Young Eagles program, which introduces
I'm
children
sold.
between the ages of 8
Jerry
and
who?
17.
Yeah.
I'm going Jimmy Graham.
All right.
I think it's cool that he like was
Yeah.
that played basketball mainly in college too, and then
Yeah.
took
Yeah.
up football. I
No,
think
he
that's
was,
just
he's
Is it you?
and
right. One of those guys like him and Gates.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember who was the tight end before Jimmy Graham in New Orleans?
Kobe Fleener.
Kobe Fleener? No, he was after. That's the first name
Is
that
he
popped
after?
in my
That's
head
the first
too.
name
Was
that
Kobe?
I had it up, so I cheated, but I think I would have had a
We
chance
just
at
mentioned
getting
him. Jeremy Shockey.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah. Okay.
I forgot he even went there.
I
I
did
mainly
too.
just know him as the Giant.
Yeah.
He looks like
Yeah.
such a giant.
Mm.
Freaky.
Yeah.
He was like 6'7", 6'8", right? Or I'm sorry, Jimmy Graham was like 6'7", 6'8".
Yeah.
He was a big guy.
Yeah.
He played basketball at
At the U.
Miami. Yeah. So we have two Andre,
Jimmy.
one Jimmy, and
And then
then
Jerry
Awesome.
and the stubborn Jerry Rice.
Or you gonna tie
No,
it up?
you can't. You can't.
All right. Yeah. Because like
Don't switch for like a tiebreaker.
yeah, that would be the
Switch
only
out.
reason.
All right. So then that means Andre Johnson. Which,
Yeah.
to be fair, like there's a chance that Jimmy Graham ends up in the Hall of Fame too. Like I think
I
that,
like
Yeah.
Andre Johnson here.
I think he's at least Hall very good.
I think if it weren't for Calvin Johnson during Andre Johnson's career, that Andre would be more appreciated.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. He was. I mean, for his size, like he looked like a tight end as far as his size. Not even just his height, his shoulders, massive. Like he could have been one of the greatest tight ends of all time.
Yeah.
It just so happened that he was agile and could jump out of the roof and was fast. Like
Yeah.
Kind of building off of that point, I think Jimmy Graham's Hall of Fame chances get hurt a ton by playing at the same time as both Gronk and Travis Kelce.
no.
Yeah.
And Tony Gonzalez. at
And
the
Jason
first part,
Witten.
too. Jason Witten.
Antonio Gates still
Yeah.
rolling around.
Yeah.
Like there was so many.
We're
like,
going back
the
to like
amount
our
of
great tight ends
Yeah,
conversation,
the
but
amount of tight ends that are just like there to where like it's just so it's like Chris Jones gets hurt a lot because Aaron Donald's in the league.
Mhm.
So it's like how many first team All Pros are you really ever gonna get when Aaron Donald's getting all the first team All Pros?
It's valid.
because I think if you look purely at the numbers, Jimmy Graham should be a Hall of Famer, no question. But I do think that it's going to take him a while if he
Yeah.
does ever get in.
This next one might be the easiest pick
Yeah.
of all
There's-
time.
I mean, there's
81?
Yeah.
there's a lot of
There's
there's a
two
lot of
names.
good
There's
players,
one
great
name
players,
that is
but
the
there's
most iconic name.
it is
in
it is
football
the
right
one
now,
most
possibly.
iconic, but there's definitely conversation to be had. In
All
my
right,
opinion.
so let's go through these names.
Just
real quick
wait till he
before we
says
get
the
too
name.
deep.
he's stunned.
Wait till he says the name, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah,
Just
There's-
wait.
it's not even who you're thinking. Anyway, let's go down through this list real quick. So
wait.
obviously the big names, T.O. and Calvin Johnson. Those are the Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
End of the list. No, I'm just kidding. Next on the list, Torrey Holt, a guy who we think probably deserves to be in the Hall.
Yeah.
We think he's probably the next on the list of non
The wide
first ballot
receiver
guys.
backlog,
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he's probably that
Yeah.
first guy. Then you got some current guys: Hayden Hurst, Jonnu Smith, Mike Williams, Jesse James
Yep.
caught that ball.
That's my guy right there.
Gerald Everett, before when he was with the Rams, I believe is when he wore 81. Quincy Enunwa.
You threw Quincy and Newmont.
Listen, we just throw
There's-
names. We're just
Hey,
throwing
that
names.
one year was nice.
That was
so nice, dude.
No one could tackle him.
Jordan Matthews, current tight end. Jordan Matthews, as of like last year, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know
Oh,
sure
yeah.
if he's still
Dude,
active.
another one-year wonder, Cam Meredith from Chicago.
He got hurt.
Yeah. Jason Avant, Anquan Bolden, Owen Daniels,
Ready?
Randy Moss from 2007
Oh, he's gonna wait for
to
us.
2010. Nate Burleson
He's saying it
is
last.
another interesting one. Peerless Price. Tim Brown played until
And
2004.
the most iconic player at the current moment,
Aaron Hernandez.
like
He
he is.
Guys.
I mean, he is.
No,
Like,
if you're actually thinking about Aaron Hernandez being your pick for 81, you're
I'm
insane.
just saying.
But-
I'm just saying. If we are going off of purely most iconic, that most everybody knows who he is.
yeah, but we're talking about like in the
T.O.
NFL.
T.O.
He
is-
hasn't even been in the NFL.
T.O. is by far should be the pick, but
What?
Aaron Hernandez You think Calvin? I think
Yeah, I was
T.O.'s
like, you
off the
think
field
T.O.?
stuff.
It's
Yeah,
T.O.
yeah.
Dude,
How is
he-
it
Off the
T.O.?
field.
His all right,
Off the,
hold
like-
on.
All right,
So
you go.
first,
Your name.
we got the popcorn celebration.
Okay.
Crazy.
Mhm.
We have the star. Also crazy. Like Dallas
Just
will
celebrating.
still be mad about that. Yeah.
Okay.
So the celebrations, probably the second best wide receiver of all time. So that's enough said on the field.
think
What?
better
What?
than me?
That's not that
Second
crazy.
best of
yeah,
all time?
Josie,
Better than me.
Josie, is that
That's
that crazy?
crazy.
It's
He's
the
more like-
conversation.
he's more
Here's
like
the thing.
4 or 5.
Number one's not a conversation. No. Number one's not a conversation. 2 and 3 is where the conversation
It's Randy
starts
Moss
between
and
Randy
T.O.
and
at
T.O.
2 and 3.
No, and Calvin
That's-
Johnson is number
Pull-
3.
pull-
Calvin
pull up the
Johnson,
numbers.
if he
I
was
don't. I don't
under
need.
the
I don't
number-
need the numbers. It's the same thing with like Bo Jackson. How dominant Calvin.
Oh my
When
God.
2 or 3 people line up just to cover you. Think about that picture with the Saints when Calvin Johnson's sitting in there.
That's the Myles Garrett argument. That how many people it takes to block you, even
No,
though you don't like
think
have
about
the
this.
same production.
If Calvin Johnson would have played another 7 years, he would be
No,
the
but
best
see,
wide receiver of all
Calvin
time.
Johnson was so
If Miles
dominant.
Garrett didn't get double teamed, he would have like
Who's
30
it? No one
sacks.
said Miles Garrett. That's you guys bringing up Miles Garrett.
I was making the
Listen-
comparison between the
listen.
two arguments.
If you think about iconic, how iconic is a photo where you're lined up at receiver and you've got 2 or 3 DBs
Impressed.
in man press against you because they
Press man
said
coverage.
he's dominating us. We have to take him out of the game. There's no chance. Has anyone ever done that to T.O.? No.
Terrell Owens is a better wide receiver all time, and he
And
is
that's not even the question.
and he is
That's not true.
and he has way better moments off the field.
He is much more iconic.
I disagree.
I think Calvin. I love Calvin.
Like it's
more
not
than
even
any other
close,
Hear me out.
dude.
But T.O. might be one of the most
Okay.
iconic players.
Let's think
of
about.
all
Let's
time.
go.
I think
T.O. was
was-
AB before AB.
All right,
If
this
we
is-
were,
hold on,
wait,
this
wait,
is-
wait. If we were doing everybody in the NFL most iconic, I think T.O.'s in the discussion. I don't think Calvin's in the discussion for iconic. Not
What?
that iconic.
The dude's nickname
Iconic.
is
That's
Megatron.
sweet, but
Listen,
iconic. T.O. just does stuff.
Naples,
off the field.
yeah, like
His-
we're showing our age right now with the podcast. T.O. is different,
Yeah.
like
To
crazy.
It's like
Eli's-
AB.
I know
Eli's
T.O.
point,
was great.
T.O.
no, like
T.O.
crazy, like a psychopath.
Calvin
Like,
was just a good, like an amazing, incredible player that was really fun to watch. But that's not like what iconic.
You're
is.
like
So here's the thing, listen,
watering down Calvin.
No,
so
listen.
I think he's
I'm
incredible.
I'm in the middle of the line here, but I am like, yeah, I'll explain what I mean in a second. But
Aaron
as far as their
Hernandez.
play, I'm in the middle of the road as far as how close they are. I think that there's a very close comparison in play to T.O. and Calvin Johnson.
In
but,
play.
Yeah, in play.
Right.
But here's the thing. Calvin never wanted the spotlight. Calvin never wanted to be in the spotlight. I mean, there's a story that Nate... Listen.
He played in
There's
Detroit also.
There's a story
Alright.
that Nate Burleson told where they were in practice and they were testing out everybody's verticals and everybody's out here jumping 42 and stretching out to hit 43s. Calvin Johnson jumps last. He jumps and hits 45, right?
Okay.
Which is crazy. 45-inch vertical from a guy who's 6'4", whatever. Everybody leaves the room and Nate Burleson sticks around. Calvin Johnson goes up to the thing, jumps up and hits like 52 inches. It's like that was Calvin Johnson's... Like, he was a humble, hard work, put your nose down. He
Yeah.
never wanted to be in the spotlight. Whereas T.O. always wanted the spotlight.
Yeah,
T.O.
he's a punk.
thrived in being an icon. So when
Right.
you could,
Alright,
when you
I'll
break down the word
remember.
iconic, it's icon. T.O. wanted to be an icon. Calvin Johnson, look what he's done after his career. He's kept his nose down and he's done
Alright,
the
I'm gonna
things
go
he
through
wanted
his
to do.
Come on,
Wikipedia.
here we
Eli has
So,
Eli's been doing
although-
some Wikipedia
Hold on.
research.
So
and killing it.
although like Calvin may or may not have wanted the spotlight, he still had it.
Oh, I agree.
So
I
like
agree.
even if you don't want it, he was still in the spotlight.
It's
We're
almost
talking
a credit
about
to Calvin that he's not.
yeah, we're talking
More
about a
iconic.
Madden cover. We're talking about is he in the Hall of Fame?
Madden covers.
Dude,
Yeah,
is
I was gonna say
First
just
ballot.
got first ballot Hall of Famer, Madden cover. His nickname is Megatron.
Madden
The
cover is a
dude
good
was
one.
the most
Iconic.
dominant like receivers
I wonder
in his
before-
time.
this one.
He's like 6'5". No one could cover him. And it's like
Yeah.
I remember,
it's like,
I
how
remember
you do that?
seeing that in his
Alright.
football. Like,
I'm
all right,
gonna
so
go through
hold
T.O.'s
on, hold on.
Alright, you can go.
So
through
T.O.
Wikipedia.
T.O. at his all right. Let you go. Eli's been patient. T.O. is so iconic that the Hall of Fame voters shunned him, and he wasn't a first ballot just because of how much of a freaking
That's-
psychopath he
yes.
was.
And
And
then
then,
the same
to
exact
prove
thing.
his point, he didn't show up to Canton for the Hall of Fame ceremony. He did his own at his like black
school
community
graduation,
college.
yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I don't think.
He's an
Chad was-
HBCU, I think. Wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
I don't
some
think
sort of
Texas
graduation or
Yeah.
something.
All right.
like that.
Yeah. But some tiny he
Okay.
held his own Hall of Fame ceremony.
All right, so he first thing early life. It says quote from quote Wikipedia. At 10 years old, he discovered his father's identity because he liked his father's daughter, only to learn that she was his sister. All right,
Okay, but that's so-
beside-
that's so
I'm not
obscure.
saying. I just
Oh,
learned
okay,
that.
that's funny.
But then he has his own controversies tab in Wikipedia with Desperate Housewives skit, 2006 hydrocone overdose,
Hydrocone.
spitting incident, and then the Hall
Spitting
of Fame.
incident? What is the spitting incident?
After 2006 game against the Falcons cornerback D'Angelo Hall stated that Owen spat in his face during a play early in the game. Game officials and reporters were unaware. Not asked about it until the post-game
They ran
interview.
away?
When he confirmed it, Owen said, "I got frustrated and I apologized for that. It was a situation where he kept hugging me and getting in my face. He had a lot of words. I didn't. I just wanted to come and prove I'm not a guy to be schemed with." Hall said that he lost all respect for Owens when made aware that Hall was saying Owens did it deliberately. Owen said it was an accident that occurred while they were in each other's face. So he admitted that he did it, and then they were saying, "We're gonna find you," and he said, "No, it was an accident."
It was an accident, dude.
Also, yeah, and I think that my point was going to be exactly what Hayden's was. And like, I know I was just talking about the Hall of Fame and what that means as far as like the people, the iconic side of
Yeah.
it, but like. This is the one time where I think the Hall of Fame thing actually works against it because of the point that
And
he
then
made.
there's a
Where like,
touchdown celebrations tab too in
yeah,
Wikipedia.
like Calvin Johnson was a first ballot Hall of Famer. T.O. was not a first ballot Hall of Famer only because of how iconic he was.
Yeah.
Like that's
Dude, it's
that's the only
hilarious. He's
he
the
wasn't,
reason
dude.
why
There's
Antonio
no
Brown might not
way.
end up in the
There's
Hall of
no
Fame.
way
He
all
mocked-
three y'all are really about to pick T.O.
He mocked
all-
Ray
we all
Lewis's
already picked
celebration
T.O.
after a
Dude,
touchdown.
we all
That's
already picked
insane.
Like,
T.O.
and like convincingly too.
Like in all these other ones, we're talking
God.
about like we brought up Madden covers, we brought up nicknames, like all this stuff that Calvin has.
We haven't talked about T.O. yet. We're talking.
Bro.
T.O. is one of one, dude.
Dude, T.O.
I
wait,
agree.
wait,
Calvin Johnson is
I
one of
agree
one.
with you.
T.O. mocked Bill
Iconic,
Belichick after catching a touchdown against the
So?
Dolphins.
The
by
dude was a-
hiding-
the
he
dude was
hid
a
behind
dirtbag.
he
He's not
scored a
iconic.
touchdown, went behind a field goal post, held the football to his face like a video camera, and started trying.
You know, I think a better
He's
word
funny.
for T.O. is infamous.
I mean,
The
yeah.
infamous T.O.
Okay,
I don't
he's
think
why
also
does that
good.
make him not
I don't
iconic?
think
Why does that make
He
him
was
not
good
iconic?
too.
I just think Calvin's more iconic.
All right, sorry. Final vote.
T.O.
Yeah, it's
T.O.
T.O.'s and a Calvin Johnson.
And I love
That's
Calvin Johnson.
that's
I love
federal.
Calvin.
We might need a whole episode just dedicated to Terrell Owens. This dude
Yeah,
is awesome.
maybe we
This
should
dude is-
dive deep into the spitting incident.
This dude is amazing.
All right.
my
Moving on to
gosh.
eight. Moving on. to
Hold on,
18.
hold on,
No,
Eli-
no, I'm not reading this out loud. If you want to go on
Wait,
Wikipedia,
hold on.
look up
What is
other
it?
word. Just
Wait.
All right, so we have some homework for all of our viewers out there. Go to Terrell Owens
Oh my gosh.
Wikipedia and scroll down to the other work tab.
Other word.
And that is what we'll leave it as.
All right, moving on to 82 because we spent a lot of time
I'm
on
just
80
gonna
and
read.
81 so
You
far.
might have lost me with Tio's Wikipedia. page,
So I think this is where it starts to get into. We got a couple smaller ones on here where like we don't have as many names until we get to 88, but we'll talk about that when we get there. 82, Jimmy Smith, the wide receiver from
Yeah,
Jacksonville. Jason Witten, Kyle Rudolph, Delaney Walker, Dwayne Bowe, Luke Wilson was a tight end with the Seattle
Seahawks.
Seahawks during Russell Wilson's tenure. Torrey Smith, the wide receiver from a couple different places,
Baltimore.
but Baltimore most
Mainly.
notoriously.
He was with Philly too.
Yeah, Brian Hartline, receiver for Cowboys in Miami, and
He was
now
mainly
current
Miami and
he
Cleveland.
played with
Miami,
Cleveland.
Okay,
Yeah.
and current wide receivers coach for Ohio,
Ohio
State,
State.
pumping out these absolute
Dude.
studs.
If Ohio State
Studs.
doesn't win it all this year, it's a failure. You bring in Chip Kelly to like call plays. You've got Ryan Day still there. We stole most of the top 5-star recruits in the nation.
Arguably the top 2 running backs in the
You got-
country.
yeah.
Dude,
rid of
Judkins is like
Judkins is number 1, I think.
he is gonna he'll probably be a top 10 pick. He'll be in that like Bijan, Saquon like type
You
picks.
got rid of a scrub quarterback for a 5-star.
Hey, he's going
We
to go
got-
off at
yeah.
Syracuse.
No,
Watch
no.
your mouth.
No,
Watch your mouth.
No.
He's just got.
Listen,
Howard's just
first
trying
of
to
all,
distribute.
We got rid of a scrub quarterback for a slightly better scrub quarterback.
He's just
a
got.
5-star?
No.
Will
It
Howard,
doesn't- it
Will
doesn't matter
Howard's
what
more
star it is.
athletic.
Will
than
Howard
Kyle
is a
McCord.
step above. I don't even want to say his name.
He's athletic.
So
He's
bad. Kyle
athletic.
McCord is trash.
He's so bad.
Howard
He's so
just
bad.
needs to
Just
distribute
wait,
this year.
just
Don't
wait.
do a lot. Just
Yeah, you can wait.
It's
You're gonna
McCord-
find out.
It's McCord season. Syracuse is winning the ACC and making the
Yeah,
college football.
not even
playoff.
the
I gotta
best
say,
team in the
Emeka
ACC.
Egbuka is going to be a top 10 pick next year. I'm putting that out there now.
Who?
Anyway, Emeka Egbuka.
Oh yeah, Mbuka. Yeah.
Egbuka is going to be a top 10 pick. Anyway,
He's-
moving on. Mario Manningham, Derek
Ooh.
Mason, Antoine Randall.
Mario Manningham.
Mario
I thought
Manningham.
Mario Manningham wore 86.
He might have worn. He was on the list
wore
of
82.
82s. So, like,
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't see the years.
I'll do some research. You
Yeah,
guys continue.
yeah. So, I mean, when you talk about the top guys on this list, I mean, Jimmy Smith, Jason Witten are probably the top two.
Yeah, I like Jason Witten a lot.
As much as I like Kyle Rudolph, Delaney Walker, Dwayne Bowe, I'd say they're in the tier right under Jimmy Smith and Jason
Yeah.
Witten, in my opinion.
I like Witten.
Not to like backtrack, but like I feel like it's kind of sad that we didn't even mention Plaxico. Like we said his name, but we didn't even mention like him shooting himself in the foot. Like that's pretty iconic.
Winning a Super Bowl with the Giants. He didn't
He-
win with the
he wore
Pittsburgh,
se-
did
No, he never
No,
won
I
one
think
with
so.
Pittsburgh. He wore
There was
17 with the
17,
Giants
yeah.
also.
he? No.
But
I think Plaxico, if he's in one of these other wide receiver numbers, has a shot.
yeah,
I
But I
think
think-
17 and 80 were the only two.
So we go with the
I think
conversation
that's
being
how it
around
is.
Jason Witten and Jimmy Smith.
yeah. I mean, I feel like it's Jason Witten by like a mile. I mean, just for like how far Jimmy Smith actually played in the 2000s, and then like Jason Witten is just like consistently for like however long he played was just like money. Like he was Mr. Reliable, like third down every single time for Tony Romo. Like he just did it.
Yep.
Like
I think this next generation has also forgotten just how good Jimmy Smith was. I do think I agree with you, but I think Jimmy Smith and was it Keenan McCardell was the other one
yeah,
there?
Keenan McCardell, yeah,
So good.
ex Brown too. Keenan
Yeah,
McCardell.
so good.
I just want
Um,
to shout out Antoine Randall L before he passed over because if this
Yeah.
was somehow a college
Mhm.
iconic player draft, he might be.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
I like Witten.
I-
Witten's
Jimmy
my
Smith
how
favorite.
much
was
more
a-
iconic does it get than being a wide receiver and throwing a touchdown pass in the Super Bowl? Like, how much more iconic does it get than
I
that?
mean, Jawan Jennings did it.
Great.
Jawan Jennings threw a trick play pass. He didn't throw it deep to Hines Ward.
Yeah,
It
Randall
was a
L
little different.
threw
Dude
reverse
was a
like
monster
45
quarterback.
yards down the field to Heinz Ward.
Heinz Ward, he'll come
Speak-
up later.
Speaking of iconic
Yeah.
Super Bowl plays, I feel like we got to talk about Mario Manningham kind of continuing on the curse of the Giants beating the Patriots.
Yeah.
Obviously, the David Tyree
David Tyree
catch,
catch,
which
but
probably
Mario-
gives David Tyree at the very least an honorable mention for 85. He's probably not going to win it, but that catch alone puts him in the conversation. Mario Manningham did that 3 years later with the over-the-shoulder catch. Obviously, the Giants go on to win their fourth Super Bowl, their second with Eli Manning. That play is just etched in my
Yeah.
memory. I was actually at Eli's house, and just the look on the Patriots sideline, you could tell they're like, "Oh crap, not again."
We love it. As Steelers fans, we love it.
That was
Nice.
before my Brady love started.
Yeah.
So,
The dynasty of the New York Giants.
but
Alright, so-
Jason Witten, though.
Jason
Yeah, I
Witten.
think it's just.
I-
Also,
yeah.
oh, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
I was gonna ask what everybody else.
yeah,
I know you
Jason
already
Witten.
said Jason Witten.
Witten.
I think Jason Witten can clear it. Like
Yeah.
I think that we need to give our flowers to Jimmy Smith, and I love the Randall L shout out from Eli there, but I think Jason Witten can
No
this.
doubt.
Shout out Jason Witten. I actually got a picture and I met Jason Witten when I was younger, when I was like 12.
Yeah,
I know Eli
seems
knows.
like a good dude too. That's the thing.
Yeah,
like
he
yeah.
was good. Dude.
Awful Monday Night Football announcer, which honestly
Is that
kind of
like-
helps his case for
Yeah,
this
Not
being
even
iconic.
awful.
Oh, he was bad.
He
Dude.
just died.
You
He's no Greg.
going
he's
from
no,
John Gruden to him is quite a step down.
He's
John
no
Gruden
Greg
was
Olsen.
legit.
He's no Greg Olsen.
I'm not John. Yeah. Not even just because of like his coaching tenure with the Raiders. Like I
Dude,
didn't
he's
like John
a beast.
Gruden on Monday Night Football.
Antoine
personally.
Randall L. I know he knows. Where do you guys think he went to college?
I have no idea.
It's a Big Ten school.
Penn State,
A bad Big Ten school.
Wisconsin.
Indiana.
Indiana.
He was like
He's a
he.
Hoosier.
He was a Hoosier.
He
Yeah.
was. I think
The Indiana
probably one of
Hoosiers.
the years was probably up there with a Heisman favorite.
Dang.
I mean, he was a
Yeah,
nuts
dog.
quarterback. He was their offense.
All right. So Jason Witten wins 82. We have Andre Johnson, Terrell Owens, Jason Witten 83. Couple names on here. Heath is on here. All right. So first on the name, Vincent Jackson. We
Heath.
talked about this over and over again. I think that it helps your case in certain scenarios when you pass. Like R.I.P. Rest in peace, Vincent Jackson. I think it helps your case sometimes,
Yeah.
especially when it comes with the
Aaron
biggest
Hernandez.
iconic hot topic that the NFL's had in the last 15 years of CTE. Like that kind of almost like in a bad
Yeah.
way, but makes you a little
Yeah.
bit more iconic
For
too.
sure.
Wes Welker, Heath Miller, Dion Branch, some current semi-recent guys, Tyler Boyd, Willie Snead, Darren Waller wore 83 with the Raiders, Terrence Williams. I think people forget just
Yeah,
how good
Terrence
Terrence Williams
Williams
was. Martellus Bennett's on here. Ricardo Lockett was a
He's
solid receiver, but
Yeah.
people forget that he like basically died on the field. That Heath
Yeah.
Jeff Heath
Yeah, I know.
basically killed him on a punt return.
I think we
I don't
gave
remember
Jeff
that.
Heath a shout
We
out
did.
for 38. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
we
we
did.
did give Jeff
Shout
Heath a
out.
shout
Yeah,
out.
because I called him a fullback.
A
And
guy
he was
who
like,
had
"You
no
safety."
business being on the list, we did give him a shout out.
Yeah, and then Algie
Algie
Crumpler is also on
Crumpler.
this
Love
list.
Algie Crumpler. Dude, wasn't he like 6'2"? Like, he was a small tight end.
He was. Was he
with
Falcons?
the Falcons,
Yeah,
yeah.
he was there whenever Vic was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Algie
yeah.
Crumpler.
When you said Tyler Boyd, my immediate mind went to the meme with like the military guys with the gun and then the clown with like the gun.
Oh, that one of these things does not belong. And it's probably Willie Snead if we're talking about one of these things does not belong.
Yeah, Willie Snead's kind of.
Yeah, but I mean,
This is a tough one.
yeah, I think
But it's
that-
not as like I
Deion
think
Branch,
but
I feel like.
I was gonna say that's a low key. Like I
Deion
feel like
Branch
those
is
first
low-key.
4 that we mentioned are kind of the conversation.
Yeah.
Vincent Jackson, Wes Welker, Heath Miller, Deion Branch,
Yeah.
and
if you
obviously
put a bunch of
we're.
those 80 or 81 guys in 83, I think they win it easily.
I think it's a little
Yeah.
bit of a more low key, which I was surprised about. I thought all the 80s were just gonna have like lined up.
Yeah.
And I did want to mention this before the pod. Going through on these names, we're definitely going to omit some people from certain teams, but there's just so many names on
Wait, are
here.
you
that,
saying that we're not perfect? We're not a professional podcast
No,
with millions of
that's not
dollars?
what I said.
Oh,
That's not what I
okay. So we are.
So we are.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
gonna let Jesse
Right.
finish. He's gonna say
Is-
stop listening. And just
Right, exactly.
never listen
Yeah,
to us again if you
Yeah.
think that.
that's right. All right, so where are we at on 83?
I mean, Deion Branch, Super Bowl MVP. Like, it's very few receivers have done that.
So is Malcolm Butler. Not Malcolm Butler, Malcolm Smith.
Heinz Ward and Santonio Holmes were both.
Yeah.
Malcolm
I'm not making
Yeah,
a
but
case
well,
against
Angelo
Malcolm
Edelman,
Smith,
but-
like
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
but I'm saying like you have to be
Yeah,
pretty
I
good to like win Super Bowl MVP. Like you have to have like an amazing game. Like you have to like be doing it.
Yeah.
I'm probably
Deion Branch was
between
doing it.
Wes and Heath here, honestly.
Really?
That's where I'm at too, but the Heath Miller, like I'm picturing the photo of him in the Bumblebee jersey flexing, his arms just, oh, like
Hey, yo,
it gets.
calm down.
Oh
Calm
my
down.
gosh.
I'm feeling like sketch.
You need a
Like,
second?
I feel like
Stop, dude.
Was Wes the original short white
Yes.
wide? Then I think it's
Well,
Wes because there's so
Danny
many.
Woodhead
but
was
you're-
around the same time too.
Yeah, but he's not
Wes was
receiver.
before. Wes was a
Yeah,
part
yeah,
of that
that's
50
fair.
touchdown season with Brady.
yeah.
Although I am gonna play devil's advocate, although I love Wes Welker, Deion Branch had that role before Wes Welker did. He just wasn't short and light, so we don't remember him with
But
the
that's
Edelmans
what,
and the Amendolas.
like the joke of
Well-
Belichick with the white receivers.
Mm.
If it started with Wes.
Well, did Wes
then I think
Welker
so.
did Wes wear 83 with Denver?
Yeah,
Yes.
he wore it his whole
Yeah,
career.
so I think Wes Welker. For me, it's between Deion Branch and Wes Welker, just because Wes Welker just like for how long he played and like all the hits he took across the middle, like the dude's brain is scrambled.
He's probably what, like 5'8", 5'9"?
Yeah, something like that.
When a tight end, even if they're black, which Heath Miller is Caucasian, Heinz Field,
That makes sense.
Heinz Field, Acrisure Stadium, whatever you want to call it, you still erupt with Heath. He hasn't played since 2015.
That's
It's 2024 now, and
They
we're
call
still
all the
yelling
tight ends.
Heath.
Yeah, they call all the tight ends who
Sure,
pick up
that's
a
just
first
not
down.
what's
they
in the
still
water
yell.
in Pittsburgh.
All of them.
They say Muth.
Then they say Heath. They still say
It's
Heath.
still Heath.
It's
Some
still
people
No,
Heath.
I say Muth, but
I've been to
majority
a
is
couple games last year. They
Dude,
said
man.
Muth. They scream Muth,
It's-
but and it all
it's-
and even the announcers say they're not booing. They're just screaming Muth.
Yeah, and there's still some
They're,
Heath.
they're
Dude,
saying
it's
Heath.
Yeah, but maybe you guys are screaming
No,
Muth in the
hey,
games, but I don't
guys
think the
with
whole
one,
stadium.
one tooth coming down.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about like some of the most iconic Steelers from the early 2000s, like even in the 2010s, like when you talk about how many jerseys these people have, like I mean, Heath Miller is probably up near the top of jersey sales, and like he was always super consistent, and like I mean, outside of like Ben, obviously with jersey sales, but like I think that I don't know, I'm kind of leaning towards Heath in this one too, and maybe I'm a Homer Yinzer.
Yeah, I was gonna say
But, like-
over like Vincent Jackson or Wes or even Deion Branch. Like
Yeah.
I feel like all three of them have had
Okay.
better careers than Heath
Okay,
Miller.
here's a better question for you. Then,
Respectively.
okay, you go to a Patriots or a Broncos game. You go to a Chargers, which there'd be no fans there from the Chargers
That's right.
anyway, or a Tampa Bay game.
That's
How
right.
many times are you seeing those jerseys?
I know the Steelers
You
have
see-
a big fan base, but I think we're starting to get like a little bit too much into who's the most iconic for their fan base.
Well,
versus
yeah,
who's the
'cause,
most
like, there's
iconic.
But
certain
it's also
players
the biggest
for-
fan base in all of football.
I agree,
That's
but
them and the
it's-
Cowboys. Is
I
them
was
and the
gonna- I
Cowboys
was
are
gonna
1
say
and 2.
I don't
1 and
disagree,
1.
but if it's the most iconic for the NFL, I think it's Wes.
Yeah, like I feel like you can go by in the it's not necessarily like the top players, but like fan bases have players like Heath, where it's like, oh, you have this player who's really popular in the fan base,
Can you
but
give
like
me
they're
an
not.
example? because I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I'm having a hard time finding a player who isn't among the greatest of all time that the fan base loved that much for that long.
So for the Browns, for example, David Njoku. David Njoku, everyone loves the Chief and they scream the Chief and stuff. But he's not
I've never
like...
heard that one time in my life. The Chief?
He's called the Chief, yeah. David Njoku. Yeah,
I've never heard that before. I believe you.
Okay, well, I'm a Browns fan sitting here on the couch.
Yeah, but have you heard of Heath before? The Heath chant? Don't lie.
Heath?
Yeah.
Yeah, they scream that for all their tight ends. Like,
Exactly.
but not Heath, I mean like with their names. So like they scream Heath or Muth or whatever, like they do that.
Well,
Similar.
here's another thing to it. The entire NFL started doing that for certain players after the Steelers did it for Heath. So like,
I don't know if
with
Heath
a-
started.
That's a
I
little
think
far.
any-
That's a
I
little
think
far.
like
90%
basketball
sure.
in the 90s. you could
All right,
probably find
can we
it.
get back to
Anyway.
David Njoku's never been called the Chief
Yes,
outside.
he is. Yes,
No,
he is.
it has Eli.
'Cause you're
Have
a
you, Eli,
Steelers
you're
fan.
I'm
Why
a-
would-
but I'm a casual.
Why would you as a Steelers fan
But that
call
proves
him
the
Chief?
point. You've heard of Heath. Heath versus Njoku, like that's not like it's not apples to apples.
But what I'm saying is like Heath may be really popular for that number in the fan base, but
You know
I'd
why
say
he's
between these
coaching?
other guys like Wes or Deion Branch would be more popular for wearing 83, and their accomplishments and accolades are a lot further along than Heath's are as far as like what
A
we're
lot?
talking about.
A lot, you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Heath Miller is one of two tight ends to have 50 catches. One of three now, like Kelsey,
Okay.
but one with 50 catches and 500 yards for 6 straight seasons.
Okay, and how many All
One of
Pros?
three.
How many All Pros and like
ahead,
Pro
Brad.
Bowls does Heath Miller have?
Heath Miller has 2 Pro Bowls, no All Pros.
Okay,
Guess how many All Pros Wes Welker has?
no idea.
1 or 2. Vincent Jackson has none.
Okay, what about Deion Branch?
Deion Branch, I don't even think made a Pro Bowl.
Okay. So we're looking at a
Just
guy
really fact checking
who
it.
has a couple
Yeah.
Pro Bowls and Heath Miller who's solid. And then we have Wes Welker has a couple All Pros, multiple Pro Bowls. He's had multiple 1,000-yard seasons,
Yeah.
like with the Pats and the Denver. Like,
He never had one with Denver.
did he not?
He
Okay.
had a 40 catch, 600 yard, 10 touchdown
He had
season. That was
5
his
with
best
New
one.
That's pretty good.
Heath Miller, 2-time Super Bowl champ, 2-time Pro Bowl, Steelers Ring of Honor, All Rookie Team. Doesn't have any All Pros.
All right. Well,
And then
look,
2
look
Pro
up
Bowls,
Wes
right?
and Deion Branch on there.
Wes, I'm fine with you making an argument.
Well, but
against.
Deion Branch won Super Bowl MVP. Like, that's
West
Iconic
5
for a
Pro
receiver.
Bowls, two all pros.
Deion
Comeback
Branch,
player.
2-time Super Bowl MVP. Sorry, 2-time
Yeah,
Super
I was
Bowl
about-
champion, 1-time Super Bowl MVP. That's the end of his list.
okay.
Head coach? Oh, he's a head coach.
And he's the head coach.
He was
apparently.
1-0.
Where?
Oh, undefeated, never lost.
Never lost.
LeVar Ball type beat.
Head coaching record, it does not say.
Okay. And then what's Wes Welker's stats?
He has 5 Pro Bowls, 2 first team All Pros, comeback player of the year.
Yeah, like as far as accolades, like Wes Welker obviously more so, but like have more accolades than Heath Miller as far as like iconicness.
I think Wes is, again, it's like, oh, they got Amendola now. Oh, they got Edelman now. Oh, they have Danny Woodhead. Oh, there's this white guy at the combine. Let's make a meme of Bill Belichick with the binoculars.
binoculars.
And it all started with Wes Welker.
It's valid.
What else? Did
And that's not a
Julian?
New England thing. That's like an NFL.
No,
wide
and I
thing.
love Wes Welker, but who do you think is better? Did Julian Edelman surpass Wes Welker in your eyes?
No.
I wouldn't say so.
You don't think?
No, not career wise. Not as like a total career.
Wes Welker is one of the few Patriots to never have a Super Bowl. He doesn't have a single ring.
That's just like happenstance.
No, and
Like
I love
Love
Wes
the
Welker, but I still think it's Heath. Like, all right, we gonna vote?
But you guys are both Steelers fans. Like
That's
obviously
fine.
you're gonna say Heath. You're not
Hey,
even like
he's
putting
a- he's an
but
iconic
you're not. Yeah,
franchise,
yeah.
but
You're not.
very
You're not even
iconic
David
objectively.
the Chief and Joku.
Yeah, but hey, but when we get to 85, I'm not gonna be screaming, "We need Njoku out
because
here."
Heath Miller has had a 10 times better career than David.
Yeah,
Yeah,
David
well-
Njoku has not that long of a career.
Well,
Well,
that was
6-7
the
years.
point that I was going to make, is that like I think that the Wes Welker argument is valid. I think that there's been some Heath hate that I don't really stand for in the sense
Not
that
for
like
you.
I do
But
feel
I
like
don't even like.
I don't even
I'm
hate
sticking
Heath
up for
Miller,
him.
but,
I don't
like,
think
I
it's
do
hate.
feel
I
like
think
at
it's-
times you were alluding to the fact that David Njoku is better than Heath, and that does not say right.
No,
with me.
okay.
I know
first
you
of all,
never said it.
I was
I know
gonna
you never said
say,
it.
let me take away your illusions. I do not think David Njoku is better than
Okay,
Heath Miller.
then
So
I'm
let me-
comfortable.
let me ease your heart. Let me ease your heart, because I didn't say that.
I'm glad you
But
didn't say that because
what
I
I'm-
would have.
All right, hey, we're spinning the dice, right? We're spinning the dice. It's 2 and 2.
I
Right?
think we can convince you.
I think.
Okay.
I think you can go Wes
Do I have to
Welker.
go upstairs
Listen,
and grab my Heath Miller?
I think
jersey?
you can sleep well at night picking Wes Welker here at
Here's the
80
thing.
at 83.
I think that
And I'm fine if you guys do Welker, but we're spinning the dice.
yeah, and I do think that in his entire career, Wes Welker basically only played with Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And to be fair, Heath Miller only played with the first ballot Hall of Fame
Hey,
quarterbacks.
What's
So
the point there?
the point is the
Who's the better quarterback out of
Yeah,
Ben,
it's Peyton,
Manning,
it's
and
Peyton
Brady?
Obviously.
Manning and Brady are miles better than Roethlisberger.
And okay, but you're gonna hold whoever someone plays with
Then
against them.
Njoku is
Dude,
better than Heath
Dude,
Miller.
Emmanuel Sanders will come up later in this conversation with 88 because that's what he wore with the Steelers and when he's most iconic. He played with only Hall of Fame quarterbacks basically his entire career.
I think that's. I don't think this is. I think this. We're just diving into it too much. and
That's
we're
fair.
grasping
Let's-
at
Well,
straws.
I mean,
For
we've
an
been over
iconic
this
player,
with
we're talking
other
about their
numbers with
quarterbacks
Steelers.
now.
As soon as you get a Steelers player, you guys like raise up their
That is not true,
iconicness
Josie.
because you guys have watched them play on
Yeah.
a deeper
It
level.
is a nostalgic
So you
thing.
do have to
It
take
is a
that out of
nostalgic
it as far as like when you're looking at the numbers.
Josie, is it true that I am constantly trying to fight back Steelers bias on this podcast? I go out of I almost am a non-Steelers fan on this podcast at times to avoid the bias that occurs from Christian, Josie, Luke when he was a part of the
I don't
team.
know, man.
Josie, is that true or not?
It's true, and I think that there's certain people that will go
Not my
so far
experience.
as to like try to not have Steelers bias, where it almost sounds like they're not a fan. And I would say
And
that
that's
you,
me.
you and Casey fall into that category.
I don't know.
To make
Yeah,
it sound like
Casey,
you're not a
Casey's
bias
even worse.
user.
Casey sounds like he
Oh
hates
my
the
god!
Steelers.
Every time I talk to him about it, he's,
All right, go votes.
yeah,
Keith, say it.
Wes.
Welker.
Wes. All right, Wes wins it.
Yeah.
I'm not high fiving.
Why not?
Listen, because I think that they both deserved it, but I'm going Wes
Because
because
he deserves it more.
he's
going
going
Yeah, go upstairs.
Because
grab that jersey.
If I remember correctly, he was part of a 50 touchdown season and a 55 touchdown season.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so.
He's walking away. No, I'm going Vincent Jackson. I take it back.
Vincent Jackson, hey, we'll take it.
All right. So
You
Wes.
still Wes wins.
Yeah.
Then
See,
Wes
that's what I'm
still
saying.
wins
Like,
it.
I don't when I hear all of those names, like I think Wes Welker, Vincent Jackson, I think all of those guys more iconic than Heath Miller. And like, it does help that you guys are Steelers fans because like that raises it. And I'm not a Steelers fan, obviously, so like it wouldn't raise that for me. But like, none of those guys are Browns players either. And like, I would sit there and be like, oh, especially like.
you were.
See, that's how
That's too
outdated
small.
Heath is.
And especially like I'm a huge Madden guy, so
You're
like
about to make
playing.
me go back and switch
Yeah.
to Heath if you say Heath is outdated.
Well, I was gonna say like even playing in Madden, like I remember using like all of those cards and like all of them getting like different upgrades or like using those teams, but like I never remember playing with Heath Miller.
Heath Miller just had an Ultimate Legends card like 2-3 seasons ago in one of the Maddens. He was like a 98 overall.
Yeah.
I mean, listen,
All right, it's
Heath
fine.
Miller's so underrated as a tight end in the NFL. You know
No,
that.
he
I
was
feel
really-
like
he
I've said that he's comparable to Jason Witten.
I
I've
was
said that in the
literally
past.
just gonna say he was for the Steelers what
Yeah.
Witten was for the Cowboys, and
100%.
obviously Witten had more like career stats,
Yeah. 'Cause
but
he's
like
in a
that's
better market.
but
Yeah.
that's what it was.
Yeah.
Same thing, like Antonio Gates was that guy for the Chargers. Now Antonio Gates was a little more explosive,
Yeah.
but
I mean, if we're talking about run blocking tight ends that also play receiver, Heath Miller might be one of the greatest of all time. Him and Gronk, like he's
Him,
not in the same
Gronk,
category as
yeah,
Gronk as
obviously,
the receiving
but
side, but like
him,
Heath Miller's one
Gronk,
of the greatest blocking tight ends of all
Kittle,
time.
Gonzalez was not the greatest, but he was pretty solid.
Yeah, solid. All right. Anyway,
All
moving on to 84. Let's do 84. Let's step upstairs.
Yeah, that's
All right. So
Here comes another Steelers bias guy.
84.
This one I might. This one's.
This one's
Dude, there's-
interesting.
I know.
It's
it is.
random.
I know, but AB is so mental that.
It doesn't matter, dude. Are you just
Shall
gonna?
we move on to
We
84?
literally
already
just
did
said
it.
let's do
Yeah.
84
We're
while he's
on
upstairs.
85.
Yeah, you're not gonna be very happy with how 84 plays out. Mr.
Anyway.
Mr. Steelers bias over here with his two jerseys on.
Yo, we'll pull up the receipts. It's facts.
Pull up the receipts.
I've annoyed Josie before
The
because
last-
I will like veto him because it's too Steelers heavy.
I don't know, man. All I remember is this and the Mike Tomlin conversation. I got berated for hating on Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, and
Cameron
rightfully
Brate.
so,
Yeah.
dog. That
Cameron
was
Brate,
wild.
another good 84.
Yeah.
Cameron Brate. Yeah, maybe we should bring up his name.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, moving on to 84. Reading through this list, Randy Moss, AB, Shannon Sharp played until 2003, so I think that disqualifies him. Roddy White, Cordero Patterson, TJ Hushmanzada, Corey Davis, Cameron Brate was on there. How about that?
Cameron Brate.
And Ben Watson.
Oh, dude. I mean,
Ben Watson?
it's got to be Ben Watson. Like for all.
Walter Payton Man of the Year.
Yeah,
brother.
dude, exactly. Walter Payton Man of the Year. I mean, talk about what he did with the Browns. Like everyone chanting Ben in the stands.
Let's
Like,
be honest, Ben Watson.
Watson.
Was a saint. Ben Watson was a saint.
dude, I don't know
Ben
why
the
you
Chief
think that's
Watson.
funny. Like David Njoku is literally the Chief.
He's washed by the Chiefs every year.
We don't get washed by the Chiefs.
You guys actually played them pretty well.
Yeah.
for last year.
If I remember, you guys get washed by the Chiefs.
We've only ever played them and Patrick Mahomes twice. Once in the
Yeah,
playoffs
I think-
when we scored the first, and then the other time when he
TJ
threw
Watt
si-
almost single-handedly beat Patrick Mahomes and Travis
Yeah.
And
Kelce.
then
The
the
only
time
games
that we
I
played them
remember
in Patrick Mahomes' first MVP season, he threw 6 touchdown passes against us.
I think
And we
I think the
still
only
were
two
in the
games
game.
I remember the Browns playing the Chiefs was like home opener, and we ended up losing by like 6, and that was with Baker.
You guys played him in the playoffs.
And then we played him in the
yeah.
playoffs, but then Mahomes left, and I remember 4th and 1 or 4th and 2,
Throws to
freaking
Tyreek.
Chad Henne throws
Yeah.
the Tyreek on an out route. I was remember watching that game, and I was like,
And
"There's
then-
no way
Was
he
it
threw
Tyreek?
it."
I think you
It was an
guys,
out route.
Yeah.
you guys played them in the season opener. I think the next year, also, if I remember correctly.
Probably something like that.
Yeah,
But
because
we
I
usually play
feel like
them
you
well.
guys won, if I'm not
Maybe
mistaken.
once,
Because I
but-
think I was at Syracuse
Maybe.
watching it.
But we usually play them pretty well. But
Yeah. All right.
Anyway,
so if we eliminate,
Hold on, I do want to say, so this is Randy Moss versus AB.
Yeah.
because
Um,
we'll eliminate Shannon Sharp because
Yeah.
of the.
But
Because
I
of
don't
the-
think Shannon Sharp should be eliminated. I don't think he's competitive with the other three. Look at what he's done in his media career, and that's what we have done. We've looked at off the field stuff.
Shout out Nightcap.
Like he's getting sued by Brett Favre. Like they're
Brett Favre's suing him too.
yeah, he sued
Oh,
him and
that's
McAfee at the
hilarious.
same time.
That's
So
funny.
I don't know. There are. I'm not saying that he wins. He's still third place, but I don't know if we can necessarily just throw him.
I
That's
think
punk.
yeah, it's like no.
Yeah, I mean, it's the
disrespect
same thing with
but
Jerry though.
He
It's
is
like,
third, but I do think at the same time we can throw him out because I'm
He's third though, like
yes,
pretty
yes, but
firmly
he's
in
not.
third.
Yeah,
out.
Yeah.
yeah.
but he's not.
Okay.
Throwing him
So,
out is not a disrespect.
Randy Moss, AB.
Wait, hold on. I,
I
do
mean,
want to
it's-
go back to something because my brain's weird. Do you say Ben Watson was on this list?
Yep.
Ben Watson wore 82 with the Browns and the Saints. So I mean,
What did he wear for the
were you
Pats?
for with?
for the Pats,
For the
just the
Pats.
Pats.
Oh, just the Pats. Okay.
So.
Oh, okay.
Well, we didn't bring up a mini.
I just had to-
I
I
don't,
just-
think, I don't think he wins over Jason Witten.
No.
Well, since I'm in a vendetta against
So let's go back to
Vendetta.
82.
Browns tight ends, like
I
just
think Ben
Yeah.
Watson's actually
Um,
better than he.
I think AB, great argument. Dude is nuts.
his
I'm
schlong is
going-
gigantic.
Oh my gosh.
The
dude.
pool video,
That's what's iconic to you is the dude's meat.
it has to
It-
come into the
It
conversation
has to. Okay.
I'm going Randy.
Yeah. I.
just because of the pool video.
Okay, hear me out.
No.
Randy Moss.
Yeah,
Look at
I'm
what
going
Randy Moss did in 07 alone. The dude is one of the most like he is literally like the prototype wide receiver. 6'4", blazing speed.
Have you seen
on your
Terrell
head?
Owens?
Yeah, and Randy Moss is better than Terrell Owens. So
I think there's a
Don't
conversation.
It's
Miss-
two, that's
miss
where the
me with that
conversation
spot.
I think,
starts.
yeah.
Two
Yeah,
and three
miss me with
between
that.
those two guys because Jerry
Anyway.
Rice is solidly one.
anyway, the dude's literally you just got mossed.
Yeah, that's like
Took the same reason like with Odell and like the one-handed catch stuff is like throw it up to me, let me moss him. Is like growing up playing football in the yard. Hey, just throw it up. I'm
Kobe.
gonna moss him. Yeah, it's the Kobe like mentality. Like Randy Moss was just. And is he second all time in yards?
No,
Fitz isn't Fitz.
Oh, okay,
it's
maybe
Fitz
it
or
is Fitz.
T.O.
It fits, but Randy Moss is up there as far as like, you know, all-time numbers and like touchdowns and like yards and stuff.
Andy's
Uh,
funny.
Oh yeah,
He has
Andy's hilarious.
15,000 receiving yards, which if I remember correctly, Larry had like 16 or 17,000.
Okay.
156 touchdowns,
Mm.
including 23 in one season.
Yeah, the 23 in one season is.
Yeah.
I don't even think he was wearing
Larry's
84
got
when he had
17
that.
now. 17,492.
Is what Larry has.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I'm pretty sure Larry took over number 2 because if I
Oh,
remember,
wait.
Rice has 20 or 22, something like that. 20 or 22,000 for
Yeah.
Rice.
Yeah, he's in the 20.
Yeah.
He, no one's ever breaking that.
Hey Naples,
Hi,
I love you, man.
22.8.
I love you.
I love you too.
So, I think that there is an argument for Randy Moss over T.O.
Okay.
Me and Josie are on the same wavelength. Them at 2 and 3 is whatever. Like, they are the second and third best wide receiver, whatever order.
2A, 2B.
But with how firmly you are that Randy Moss is better than Terrell Owens, and you said Terrell Owens is like the 5th best wideout, you think, off the top of your head?
In my personal opinion, yeah.
And then you were just talking about Randy Moss's stats as a reason why he is so good. Terrell Owens has 1,078 catches. Randy Moss has 982. So over 100 catches difference. Randy Moss has 15,292 yards. Terrell Owens has 15,934 yards.
So basically the same yards.
but higher for.
How many did
Higher
they both
for
play
T.O.
the same seasons? Who played more?
Owens played 96 to 2010 and
It's the same-
was
it's the
productive for that whole amount of time. Randy Moss did retire and then come back, if I remember correctly, 98 through 2012. So
Same.
honestly, yeah. And then
About the
Randy Moss did have 3 more touchdowns than him. So and I'm fine with saying Randy Moss is better than him, but Terrell Owens is still the second or third best wide receiver. The numbers, like if we're gonna talk about numbers,
Yeah.
or if we're gonna talk about just actual play.
I mean, it all plays into it.
So are you on
But-
AB here?
Yeah, AB for all the good and all the wrong reasons. Like,
Okay.
dude is
Mhm.
for similar reasons to T.O. Like, but once again, kind of similar to the Heath Miller Wes Welker conversation. Like, I'm not mad saying it's Randy Moss. Like, I don't think that that's a wrong answer necessarily.
Alright.
But yeah, AB.
Am I the last one to go? Did everybody else go?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You guys both go Randy.
yeah.
Yeah. I think that you
Randy.
got Moss might be the best argument of iconic players that we've had in this whole series.
CT ESPN.
But like you got Moss. It's literally Kobe.
Quantity over quality.
I think if we were doing
Oh my
the
God.
most iconic player, period, you got Moss would like kind of hook me as like a all right, and Randy's up there.
Josie, walk us through your thought process here. What are you looking at to make your decision?
Yeah. So I'm looking at a couple things. I mean, number one, obviously, when you talk about play on the field and longevity, I would say that the answer is probably Randy. I mean, just off the top of my head, I mean, in addition to the things you guys mentioned, I think of the Thanksgiving game, 3 for 152 and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, it's
Whatever that stat line was,
Yeah,
the
just
most
that old ESPN.
Yeah.
graphic,
the most
it's six
ridiculous
in
thing
my
I've
mind.
ever seen in my life. Right? It's insane, and that's what Randy Moss was. He was a human highlight reel. That's what he did. But on the other hand, when you look at AB in the 6-year stretch where he was the best receiver in the NFL
Yeah.
currently, might not be a receiver in the history of the NFL that has a better 6-year stretch than those 6 years that AB had. Numbers, whatever you want to put it. One of the years he had like 17 receiving touchdowns. Then the next year he had 1,800 receiving yards. He might have had 1,800 receiving yards twice.
yeah.
He had 1698 and 1834 in back-to-back seasons. So he had basically 1,700 and then 1,800 receiving yards. He had 15 in there. He had another 15 basically. Like when you look at that stretch, it was 15 touchdowns. Sorry, not 17. I'm looking at it now. There might not have been a better receiver ever to have a 6-year stretch.
Yeah.
In addition to that, now you look at what he's doing post-career, whether you consider it ethical or not. I mean, to be honest with you, even in the time where he was like at his end of the time in Pittsburgh, what he did to end his career, where he took off his shirt and ran off the field. If you want to look at his Lego haircut, if you want to look at his toe taps on the sideline, Tony
Freezing his foot off.
freezing
The cryo.
Mr. Big Chest, like whatever you want to do.
Calling Mike Mayock a slur so he can go play with Tom Brady in New England.
Like the dude was, and still is, like clinically insane.
Yeah.
And like you think about the perfect hit, and like we talked earlier about like obviously you never want to be known for this, and never want anybody to have to do with this, but like the CTE thing, everybody talks about like when they think of CTE right now, they think of Antonio Brown. So like when you think of that, you think of a specific player, CTE ESPN, his hashtag on Twitter. When you think about when people are like, oh well, Vontaze Burfict's hit, ruined him, blah blah blah, the stuff like. I don't think I'm a homer in saying this. I'm gonna go AB.
Well,
Spin the dice.
when you wanna, I know you mentioned it earlier, like the quarterbacks they played with, like objectively, Randy Moss had lesser quarterback play.
He had Tom Brady,
Tom
Dante
Brady.
No,
Culpepper.
he had Tom Brady for
Steve
what,
Young.
1 year?
3.
Like
Yeah.
he
Was
barely
Dante
played with the Patriots.
Dante Culpepper.
But I'm talking about just with the Vikings. Because he played most of his career with the Vikings, right?
For
half.
6, 7
First 7
years.
years, but then he bounced
6.
around between different teams.
He went two to Oakland, 3 to
Three
New
New
England,
England.
3 teams in 2010.
Yeah, so
Minnesota,
Tennessee
New
was
England.
in Tennessee. Okay, and so you would put Big Ben over who was the quarterback at the time for them?
for Minnesota.
For Minnesota,
Culpepper.
Culpepper,
Culpepper.
and you would say Big Ben is objectively better than Culpepper.
Yeah, one's a Hall of Famer, one's
Yes.
not.
Yeah, but then also at the same time, you referenced the 23 touchdowns, which was the greatest quarterback of all time.
Okay.
So if we're going to use that as an argument for
AB
why he
also
is, you have to
AB
use
played
that
with
against
Brady
him.
and Roethlisberger. I'm
Yeah, like
Yeah.
like I
So-
said, no,
Yeah.
I don't think that there's a wrong answer. Let's spin the
Yeah.
dice.
Randy was third in MVP voting his rookie year.
AB should have won
That's
MVP
nuts.
one of those years.
No.
There was a case that he should have won it.
Yeah, he got hurt.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get hurt, he probably does.
He'd
That
probably be
that
the only one that would ever
2017
win it.
season was wild because
Insane.
Carson Wentz was the shoe-in for MVP.
until
he goes
got
down.
hurt.
Yeah.
Then Antonio Brown was the favorite. He goes down, and then it became Todd Gurley versus Tom Brady, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. Brady ended up on top. But that little side note, but that MVP season was
He
interesting.
played in 14 games. He had 15, 33, and 9 touchdowns in 14 games. 101 receptions in 14 games. Anyway, odd, AB, even, Randy?
Sure, because AB's odd.
Facts. 37, AB.
All right, 85. And Josie, I'm looking at this list of 85. I think that there's two guys that it really comes down to. A lot of honorable mentions. One of the honorable mentions, though, is disgusting. What are you doing?
I was gonna put it for. I put it for 88 too, actually.
We got some Hall of Very Goods. We have a few guys who should be in the Hall of Fame. And then we have Darius freaking Hayward
He was the
Bay.
first round pick.
Yeah, there's 32 first round picks every year. Yeah, Darius Hayward Bay were 85 only with the
Combine
Raiders.
legend.
Yeah, Combine legend.
Combine legend.
7th overall pick, who I think his career high in yards is probably like 700, and he had that once.
Yeah, honestly, I think
Six
my
or
pick's
seven
gonna be
yards.
Darius Hayward Bay for 85.
Return
Any-
specialist.
Anyway,
return
go
specialist.
ahead.
Dude, he
Josie.
played-
How many of these guys on here were return
39.
specialists?
I mean, that one play. Just an honorable mention. Honorable. I'm not saying he even comes close to win, but anyways, 85. Josie, take it away.
All right, honorable mentions. We'll go through those first. Vernon Davis, another Combine Hall of Famer, and another guy that was drafted by Hayden's man crush,
Who's
Brandon
that?
Lloyd.
Okay.
It's the Harbaughs.
Oh, okay.
The Harbaughs. Just both.
I was
of
gonna
them.
say we can talk about the Harbaughs. We can talk about Howie Roseman. We can
Yeah.
talk about Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, fair enough.
I have a lot of man crushes.
Yeah. Anyway, reading through these, Vernon Davis, Brandon Lloyd, both guys played for the Niners, if I remember correctly. Brandon Lloyd did. Got a notorious
Yeah.
one-handed grab snagged it out of the middle of the field. Another Niner, George Kittle. You got David Njoku on there. I did include him.
Oh.
You got Eric Ebron,
The Chief.
the Chief.
He is the chief.
Eric Ebron, the Chief.
Why do you guys think that's funny? I don't
I've never
know.
heard of
No,
him.
because
That's
I
just
believe
nuts.
I believe you that, and Eli found an article saying, but that is
Yeah.
not as well known as you think, dude.
I'm a Browns fan. I'm not saying everyone should know he's the chief, but I'm saying like
That's fine.
And this next guy, anybody in the AFC North knows his name. Maybe outside of the AFC North you don't, but Tyler Eifert for a couple
Tyler
stretches
was
of
nice.
years was so nice.
yeah.
Greg Jennings, another name on there from the YouTube video. Greg Jennings, he broke his leg. Anyway,
that's
Nate
really
Washington, Steelers legend. Darius Hayward Bay, Steelers legend, and David Tyree, obviously known for the helmet catch. So I mean, honestly, I think there's two names, like you said, and the guys I didn't say at first. Obviously, Ocho Cinco, 8'5". Like what
Yeah.
else? I mean,
Yeah.
that might be the end of the conversation, but we also have to say Antonio Gates,
Yeah.
just because Hall of Famer. So.
And
I don't know
think
that.
it's interesting,
I don't know that Ocho Cinco's ever going to sniff the Hall of Fame. For being honest,
Ocho Cinco's hilarious
which is
too. Like
ridiculous.
criminal. It's criminal. What did you say? Federal. That's federal.
it is.
That Ocho Cinco's not going to sniff the Hall. Like
I don't know. This one's gonna be a quick one, right? Like Antonio,
It's-
awesome.
yeah, it's
great.
Ocho
Ocho
Cinco.
we're all in agreement.
He
Ocho
has two
Cinco.
names. He does stuff with Madden
And
overall.
his other name
It's like
is his other name's the number.
Yeah.
him and
So-
him and To always do that thing where even though they're like in their mid 40s, where they're like,
Oh,
"Oh,
good
we're still
play.
fat." Which
Hey,
I mean, they do
I mean-
still have insane footwork, but
Mhm.
them playing is
Yeah,
just
he'd
ridiculous.
probably get hurt.
It's been over a decade since they
His
played
McDonald's died. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
He's-
yeah.
Kicked some field goals in his career as well.
Another Hard Knocks. We've talked about Madden a lot, not only this
Yeah.
episode but in previous ones. Hard Knocks, I feel like, also comes into play there.
My favorite thing about Ocho Cinco is that clip of him being mic'd up when he's like, I I came across it, tried to blindside Ray.
Oh.
And he tried to blindside Ray Lewis and just he got laid out. He got
You can
absolutely
hear
laid
the
out.
life leave his body.
He's trying to gasp for breath as he's saying it. But
Yeah.
all right, moving on.
I
to
thought,
86.
hold on, one
Yeah.
other Ocho.
Yeah.
We could do a whole story just on funny wide receivers.
Yeah.
We could do Ocho,
Mhm.
T.O., but
Tyreek Hill's pretty
him
funny, too.
calling Hugh Jackson in like the middle of the night, like at 2 or 3 a.m., and just saying, I'm open, and hanging up the phone. Like, just like the stereotypical Devo wide receiver, and it's awesome. It's still producing great content long after his playing career is over.
For sure, absolutely. All right, moving on to 86. Some honorable mentions we'll go through on here. Todd Heap, super reliable receiver behind Dennis Pitta, and a little bit before, maybe if I remember correctly. Current guys, Dalton Schultz. I put Hunter Henry on this list because he wore 86 when he was probably most relevant with the Chargers. He currently wears 85. Dan Campbell, again, more known for his post-career stuff now with being the coach, but he did wear 86 in 80, I think. He went back and forth, but I think 86 was the one that I kind of stuck him in just based on what other number. There were a ton of names in there. And then Antonio Freeman also on this list. And then the two guys I didn't say yet, Hines Ward and Zach Ertz are probably
The
top
top
of
two
this
by a
list.
mile.
I think anybody, or I think number 80 through 85 wins this. But I'm going Hines. But
Yeah,
I think
probably
this is
Hines.
one of our weaker lists.
Yeah.
One of, if not the toughest receiver of all time, the best blocking wide receiver of all time, 1,000 catches, 14,000 yards, Super Bowl MVP, and two-time Super Bowl champ. Like,
He's one of the most
it's
iconic
Hines.
catches.
And
But
even if you like you do, it's not a correlation at all. But like when it was Hines Field and then Hines Ward was there, like people think
as
of
a
like
kid,
Hines
I
that-
correlate.
yeah,
I didn't
exactly.
I didn't put
Like,
together like that it was
that it's
spelled
different.
differently or
Yeah,
anything.
exactly. But
no,
it's like
I agree.
Hines Field. Yeah.
I always
more,
thought that.
More receptions than Randy Moss. That's interesting. I didn't realize that until we were just talking about that earlier.
He had
You said
1,000
catches,
exactly.
And he, Randy Moss, what did I say, 986?
950 something. like that.
982.
82.
And so, like, it's close, but at the same time, it's like having more receptions than a guy who's at the top 2 or 3 of all time is like, that's something.
Hines Ward, and I'm not saying he sniffs T.O., Moss, Jerry, Megatron, AB even. Hines Ward is criminally underrated.
I agree with that.
People don't realize how good the stats are, how close he is to 100 touchdowns. One of the
Yeah,
few
he's
guys with 1,000 catches and 14,000 yards. And outside of a couple finalist nods, he doesn't even get anywhere close to the Hall of Fame consideration
Yeah.
he should.
Yeah.
And you know, I love bringing up my little Madden facts and stats, but he wasn't even in Madden like after his post career for a little while, and then like they finally added him into the game the one year. I remember being so excited to use Hines Ward, and there was even like a little glitch you could put him as your starting tight end. So Hines Ward at tight end was like the ultimate mismatch. Like
Yeah.
no one could cover. Yeah,
Because he
Like-
probably had 99 run blocking as
Yeah,
a receiver.
exactly, and
Like,
he was
yeah.
way faster than any other like tight end, quote unquote, in the game. So like he was just ultimate mismatch.
Yeah. All right, moving on to 87. A lot of names on here, some current ones, but we're going to breeze through these. Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski, Reggie Wayne, Jordy Nelson, some more recent guys, Noah Fant, Sam Laporta, Jared Cook, a Super Bowl. We talked about him earlier in here, but he has the record for the longest receiving, the longest reception in Super Bowl history, but it's Muhsin Muhammad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, from the Carolina Panthers whenever they played in their first Super Bowl, I think it was.
Yeah.
He has like an
He may have been,
87-yard reception.
He may
It
have
was
been a
touchdown.
name Moose before he,
It could have
right?
been.
I think so.
Good.
Joe Horn was a
Seriously.
dog.
That's
Yeah.
that's
I'm not saying it's
putting,
more popular.
that's
but-
thinking that Carolina had fans to chant it though.
Yeah, but I do think that.
They were
That's fair.
Carolina was 7 years old at the time, so
Joe Horn is on here because you remember the phone celebration. Keenan McCardell, we mentioned his teammate earlier. Ed McCaffrey played until 2003. Obviously, he had a great career, but he's also a little bit more nowadays known for his son and potentially his other son. We'll see. And then T.J. Hawkinson wears 87 currently, wore 88, I think, with the Lions, if I remember correctly. I think this conversation comes down to really two guys. It's Travis Kelce and Gronk, and I
Yeah.
think the answer is Gronk.
Yeah,
like,
it's Gronk.
I think it's Gronk. Like, is everybody in agreement on that?
Easily.
I mean, it's Gronk. I mean,
easily.
I don't know if it's
Easily,
I don't know if it's as
No,
easy
1000%
now
easily.
because of how popular Travis Kelce
Dude,
is.
1000%.
It is not
But
easy
I,
at all.
I think it's not super easy, but like for me, it's like it's Gronk.
That was
I
like,
think this
It's
is
the
ano-
Gronk spike,
is in-
like everything that he's done on and off the field, like his draft stuff, the stories that come about him.
What
Like
about
Guardians.
Kelsey? All this stuff.
Yeah, no,
and
for
I'm
sure,
going. I'm
yeah.
going Gronk too.
Yeah.
But I think this is another A.B. Moss situation where it's 50-50.
I think Gronk would be in my top 5 most iconic players of the 2000s, no matter the jersey number.
I'd say that's
And I don't think
probably-
Kelsey's
Yeah.
in my top.
I'd say
15.
that's pretty good.
I don't think Kelsey's in my top. I would have to
think-
listen.
I'm
out,
going
but I don't
Gronk,
think
but
he'd be 15.
with all the stuff Kelsey has done, there's a
Yeah.
laundry list of stuff for
No,
Travis.
yeah, no disrespect to Travis Kelsey, but I think it's Gronk, and I
You think
wouldn't
it's
say
close?
it's I wouldn't
don't
say
think
it's
close
I
at
wouldn't
all.
say it's easy.
Yeah,
But
I
at the
would say
same
it's
time,
easy.
it's like
Really?
we're talking about Gronk and what he's also done post career now. Like his personality is huge, and like Travis Kelsey
It's
brought down his
T-Swizzle.
personality from what he was at the beginning of his career because of the way that he garnered penalties and the way that like he was portrayed and why he dropped in the draft. Like the story is like Andy Reid had to call Jason Kelsey.
Yeah.
Like, am I making a mistake by taking your brother? Like there were some character issues that people tend to forget with Travis Kelsey, but like Gronk's he's just a goofy dumb
He's
guy.
just an idiot. Yeah.
He's just a goofy dumb guy, and like
He's just
that's
a bro.
He's a lovable, goofy, dumb
Right.
guy. Like, and I think it's Gronk. So, are we all in agreement? It's Gronk.
It is, but I don't think you guys realize how close it is.
No,
they've
I-
said
no,
it's
like,
easy.
I
I
said-
don't
I-
think it's easy.
It's-
I don't think it's.
He's
close.
dating the most popular
Yeah,
person
that's
in the
the-
world.
that's
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Like, and I think-
that's
like,
a heck of an argument. You love her or hate her, like guess
Getting
what?
sketch.
No, but like I'm saying like it's not as close as like, or like he's saying it's not close at all. But I think it's close, but it's not that close.
I don't think you realize how full Travis Kelsey's resume is off the field. It's like ridiculous.
Yo, catching
Catching
Kelsey.
Kelsey?
Catching Kelsey.
Oh my
yeah.
I mean, I think the most popular Kelsey's Kylie, or was it
Kylie,
Yeah,
yeah.
Kylie Kelsey. That's her
Or
name.
is it?
or is it?
I love
Oh.
Kylie.
All right, moving on to 88 because Gronk is 87. Quick recap before we move on: Andre Johnson at 80, Terrell Owens at 81, Jason Witten at 82, Wes Welker 83, AB 84, Ocho Cinco 85. That sounds redundant. Heinz Ward 86, Rob Gronkowski 87. Moving on to 88. All right, Tony Gonzalez, Des Bryant, Marvin Harrison Sr., Greg Olson, Demarius Thomas, RIP, Dallas Goddard, Pat Fryermuth, Mike Gesicki, Dawson Knox, CeeDee Lamb, Evan Ingram,
Just random.
Ty Montgomery, Trey Burton. If you remember, he threw the touchdown pass on the.
Josie.
Why are you
The Philly
listing these
special.
guys? Why are you
Why
listing
is Mike Gesicki
Like,
on this
there's
list?
no, yeah,
I
like
love
there's no
Mike
point.
Gesicki so
this,
much.
this dude said Ty Montgomery.
Why
Like,
is
what are
Mike
you-
Gesicki-
Ty Montgomery was like a half wide receiver, half running back who had like one okay season.
He wore 88 at the running back position.
Isn't
When?
Dawson
That's
Knox
that's
like a
iconic.
He did, but-
That's iconic. All right, moving on.
That's
Anyway,
iconic.
Alan Hearns.
Josie,
Pierre
you have too
Garçon.
much time on
Pierre
your
Garçon,
hands.
I don't even hate Pierre Garçon
Yeah.
on this list. Mike Gesicki.
Dennis Pitta, Lance
Alan
Kendricks,
Hearns.
Hakeem Nicks. Don't forget
Lance
Hakeem Nicks.
Kendricks. I do like the
Jermichael
Knicks.
Finley, Emmanuel Sanders.
All right, well, you can just scroll up and go to like the first three names.
We
you
can
said, 'cause
delete,
that's
like,
really-
90% of
'cause
that
it's,
list.
It's really the first
I
three
love
names
Muth and
plus
Gesicki,
Greg
but
Olson because
come
of
on
his
now.
rap mixtape.
You don't think CeeDee Lamb?
No, CeeDee Lamb's played like 2 or 3 years.
CD was the draft guy that took the phone.
Oh yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was awesome. That was the COVID. That COVID draft was so freaking entertaining.
Belichick's
You got
college.
Roger Goodell like half asleep eating like what M&Ms or something.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
hilarious.
in his
Like,
recliner.
the Belichick dogs to Uri. Like,
Yeah.
that draft was fun.
So Tony Gonzalez, Des Bryant, Marv Harrison Jr. Senior. Sorry, senior.
I think Marv has a better shot.
I like Dez a lot on this list, although like position like Tony Gonzalez is a lot more farther along as far as like what he did as a tight end than Dez did as a receiver. But as far as like iconic, like you think about that catch or the non-catch in Green Bay, you think about Dez.
Non-catch. That's
You
the
th-
right
you
way to
think
say it.
you think about Dez throwing up the X. Like 88 is known for him, and like even when CeeDee Lamb took over 88, they're like, you got to fill Dez Bryant's shoes. Like they're talking
And Michael
about.
Irvin.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
and Michael Irvin as well.
and then
Like,
before that,
Which
Drew
Michael Irvin
Pearson.
will
Drew
prob-
Pearson
Michael
started.
Irvin would
Michael
be
Irvin
this
wins
if
this
he
if
played
we
in
do
this.
prior.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we do
If he-
prior to
if he
2000,
was, yeah.
it's Michael Irvin by a mile.
I think Des Bryant is the least qualified by a mile in terms of on the field play. Just looking at that, like Marvin Harrison and
Yeah.
Tony Gonzalez, without question, first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah.
Des Bryant never even sniffs the Hall of Fame. However, I feel like in terms of iconic, Des might have both of them beat, and that might be just recency bias. But the dude was unstoppable with the ball in his hand. Like, fade routes. Eli's least favorite route of all time. Guess what? Tony Romo's throwing it up. Dez is coming down with it. And then
was
he's throwing
in
up
front
the
of the
X.
X,
Like,
It's like him and Des Bryant did that a lot. Same way like Aaron and Devontae did that. Like
Yeah.
that back shoulder fade, like end zone was like they were just
I'm
dialed
alright
in on
if,
it.
for clarification, I'm alright with the fade if you have somebody like Dez or Gronk that's coming down with
That's
it
fair.
80% of the time. I just hate fade routes in general.
you mean you wouldn't
Maple
like
Trump.
throw it up to Ryan Switzer or something?
Oh,
Um,
Maple Trump.
So stupid.
Chase.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with the answer being Dez. I think that it's. I mean, I agree with everything you guys said. I just think that. I mean, as far as like iconic, like you think of '88, you think of three guys. Like at least for me, like you
And
think
two of
of
them are Dallas
no,
receivers.
all three of them are Dallas receivers. Like at this
Four of
Yeah,
them.
like when I think of the
Pearson.
number 88, I think of Dallas.
Yeah.
And he's really the only one on this list that qualifies, and so it's like I don't think CD's at that point yet. I think he's going to become infamous in Dallas because I don't think he's going to potentially be there
Yeah.
long term.
Really? I think they're gonna give him a mega deal. I think he's just gonna be one of those guys.
Then they're
this
going to
season.
let Parsons walk, or are they going to let Dak walk?
They're gonna let Dak walk.
Who's going to throw the ball? We're getting off track. Anyway,
yeah.
so
for another time.
yeah, I think of the number 88. I think of the Dallas Cowboys. Des Bryant's the only one that qualifies on this list. I think the answer is Des.
Yeah, I agree with this.
I mean, we go to with
Elon?
Des.
Yeah, it feels
Oh,
like
yeah, it
it
does.
feels weird just because, like I said, like the other two are way better than him.
Yeah.
But like I do think the answer's him,
Yeah.
which is weird to say, but
I agree.
And that might be a recency bias thing. Like it legitimately might. Like
I think Dez is just.
I feel like
just
he's
one of
far
those
enough out of the
iconic-
league.
I don't think Marvin
Exactly.
Harrison would have a play, but I do think recency bias might have hurt Tony Gonzalez a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
I think Dez beats out Marvin Harrison regardless of when we were born.
Hmm.
But because Marvin
Yeah,
Harrison,
he's quiet.
kind of going back to the Calvin Johnson thing, Marvin Harrison was that times 10.
Yeah.
Like that's why Marvin Harrison Jr. is so weird because that's what he grew up around. His dad's not the normal wide receiver.
yeah.
Just put in the work.
Yeah.
Well, I also think that
I mean, that's
Solid.
that's what Marvin Harrison Jr.'s been doing.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
exactly.
Like that's
Yeah.
because of his
Mhm.
upbringing from his dad.
it's like you also think about every time you think about Marvin Harrison Sr., you think about Reggie Wayne as well.
Mhm.
And like I think when you think about Dez, who are you thinking about? Terrence Williams. Like I know we mentioned him earlier. No disrespect to Terrence Williams. Who else are you thinking about?
Cole Beasley.
Jason Witten, Cole Beasley.
Dwayne
Those guys
Harris,
are not Reggie Wayne.
Miles Austin.
Those guys are not Reggie
Michael
Wayne.
Wayne.
Like
Yeah.
that's the point. That's the point I'm trying to make is that like you think about Marvin Harrison Jr., you think about Reggie Wayne, you think about Peyton Manning, right? When you
Edgerrin
think about
James.
yeah,
Dallas.
when you
Clark.
think about Des Bryant, you might think about Tony Romo.
Oh, I definitely think about Tony. Romo.
I do too. I was just making you
Yeah.
get the point I'm making.
But
though.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
outside
No,
of
I
that,
get it, I
what do you
get
think of DeMarco Murray?
Yeah.
No, you
Probably.
think of Des Bryant as the Cowboys of that generation, and Tony Romo probably
Sean
as the
Lee.
second place of that.
You
Yeah,
gotta- you gotta
that's what I'm
stop-
saying.
You gotta stop
Like-
with all these extended names on this list, man. I'm looking
Mike.
at 89.
Alright.
I'm like, there's so many people
Yeah.
that just aren't even honorable mentions.
All right,
Like, they're not even.
I tried to put a lot of like current players on this list, even if they didn't
Yeah.
necessarily deserve it. Anyway, 89, Steve Smith Sr., Mark Andrews, Doug Baldwin, Mercedes Lewis, Santana Moss, Dan Campbell. There's the other 89 I had him on. Or the other 80 I had him on. Tyler Higbee, Vance McDonald.
McDonald.
Don't forget the stiff arm.
Yeah, I was gonna
Oh.
say I don't think Vance McDonald has maybe the best stiff arm of all time,
Yeah.
outside of Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
Amari Cooper. Because I mean, if we're being honest,
only
he
wore
was
the
he wore with the Raiders, but like
Raiders.
when I think of Amari Cooper, I still think of Raiders Amari Cooper. I know
He
you
was-
guys might think of
he
him
was
as a grab.
he
I
was
don't
nice.
know.
No,
I
like
do.
he was. I think of him more honestly with Dallas because he was honestly the most refined there. Because with the Raiders, he had a lot of drop issues. But when he
Oh,
got
for
to
sure.
when he got to Dallas, like he still might have dropped the ball a little bit, but like that was when I feel like he was at his most refined.
Yeah.
Like maybe the peak of his career.
I just think
I
of,
do
I
think of
think of
Derrick.
Amari
I think
Cooper
of Derek
Khalil
Carr
Mack.
and him, the ACDC connection.
ACDC was
And I
a
think of
great
Amari
moment.
Cooper. I think of Khalil Mack during that time. Like
Yeah,
they were
dude.
both young studs and,
And then they just
stallions.
And
Trade
John
away.
Gruden said
Oh.
sayonara to all of them, but Derek Carr.
What could have been?
Ooh.
Khalil Mack could have been considered one of the all-time greats. I think if you stay with the Raiders, we're getting off track.
Anyway.
Going down through the Jared Cook is also on here. Ladarius Green, James Jones,
What is Matt Spaeth doing?
Matt Spaeth. Dude.
No, no,
Matt
the Vance
Spaeth.
McDonald one, I'll defend you because of the stiff arm.
Because
Matt,
he's a Steeler.
Matt Spaeth was a tight end 3 for like
If
a majority
that,
of his
yeah,
career,
yeah.
dude. What are we doing?
Hey, he did catch the 12th touchdown of the 12 touchdown in 2 weeks. Anyway,
That's
how
not
many-
enough to
that's
be
how
on
many
this list.
career yards receiving guys he had.
under 1,000. I don't know.
420.
He doesn't.
He was a blocking legend. Anyways,
Jared
his-
Cotchery has a 10 touchdown season. He shouldn't be on
Yeah,
this
his
list
career
either.
stats
Jerome
look like a
Simpson. Don't
season.
forget the
Hey,
flip.
the
Don't
flip,
forget the
I was gonna
whatever.
say, don't forget his forehead, dude. Have you seen that? You think that picture's
Eli, you looking it
Photoshop?
up?
It's
All right,
crazy.
And
Go
then I
look at
wanted
his
to throw this
Twitter.
guy on there just because I think it was last season he
Oh
passed
my
away.
god.
That's what I'm saying, dude. His sport. I was watching
Yeah.
something today. They pulled up his picture and they thought it was Photoshop because it was just.
Oh yeah, dude's got a 5. He's got a 6 head.
I still couldn't find Cordy Glenn though with goggles.
I looked it up again too.
Me too.
Anyway.
I did too.
And the last name I did want to throw in here, Frank Wycheck, just because he had a lot of notoriety last
He had, like,
season
the
because he
lateral-
passed away.
Well, because he
had
was
the
he
lateral
was
pass.
really
The-
good at blocking. He was like
Yes.
insane.
But
What was
he
that
was
called?
also-
That Miracle? But that was in the 90s, I
Music
think.
City
Music
Music,
City
Music City
Yeah,
Miracle.
yeah.
Yeah.
Frank the Tank Wycheck.
But yeah, I mean, I think that this
Eli's
one's-
currently zooming in on Jerome Simpson's head.
Dude, it's
I
shiny.
should measure it up, and I get 6 head. I mean, it's probably Steve Smith, right?
Yeah,
Are we
it's
going to
Steve
argue
Smith.
that it's not Steve Smith here?
I mean, it's Steve Smith. I mean,
Yeah.
he literally
even
just, like, 2 years
after his
ago-
career and like all the stuff off the
I
field,
think-
saying stuff like
I
I,
think
remember
on
the
the
Jerry
field
Judy
he wins-
comments.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
The Jerry Judy stuff, like
On the field, he wins, and then also off the field, he carries his
Yeah, he was just
probably
he was
wins
just
there,
a
so.
he was
Also-
a pimp, dude.
Like I didn't realize this, but like on his podcast when he talks about receivers, like there's NFL teams that legitimately take into account whether he says they're a dog or not, and they'll
Yeah.
draft them based on what Steve Smith think.
Yeah.
If he thinks
No,
they're
like,
going to be that great or not.
he
Like,
has
Steve
a
Smith is
lot of-
dog.
If you've heard him talk about
Yeah.
any receivers in different draft class, like he's almost on point
Yeah.
with everything he says about receivers and whether or not
Yeah.
they're like good or not.
Greatest receiver under 6 foot,
Oh yeah.
him and AB.
I was gonna say
Him
he's
and
not
AB.
6
I was gonna
foot.
say your guys'
AB's
boys.
5'10".
Yeah.
But like I mean, it's
he was
those two.
5'9".
He was 5'9". He was even
Yeah.
smaller than AB. So
Heinz
I
Ward's not 6 foot either. I don't
I
think.
thought he was 6 foot exactly.
He might be.
I'll look it
I don't
up.
know.
Either way,
he's
like,
up
if-
there.
When
He's
you
up
think
there
of
for
short
sure.
receiver, like Steve Smith's probably a top guy. You're thinking.
Yeah.
Or
I
Tyreek
think the
Hill.
I think the Trenton Holiday.
Why?
Heinz
5'7".
Ward is 6 flat, so he does not qualify for that.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway,
But
so
Steve
Steve Smith.
Tyreek
yeah.
Hill though, he was very awesome. Tyreek Hill has him beat probably. I was
Devontae?
Devontae's not. He's 6'1".
Devontae Adams.
Devontae
Yeah,
Adams,
what's
6'1",
the-
He's gigantic.
He's like
I know,
6'2".
What's this website I'm looking at? They have Keenan Allen, Allen
No.
Robinson.
Keenan Allen's like 6'3", 6'4".
D Hop.
These
D-Hop's
the
like
tall-
6'3",
these are like
6'4".
tall
I
They're
know
all
it says
6'4".
current NFL receivers under 6 foot.
What is it? Stat Muse?
Yeah,
Typically, I like Stat Muse.
yeah, that's weird.
All right, so Steve Smith Sr. All right, that was 89. Let's run through real quick. 80 Andre Johnson, 81 Terrell Owens, 82 Jason Witten, 83 Wes Welker, 84 AB, 85 Ocho Cinco, 86 Heinz Ward, 87 Gronk, 88 Des Bryant, 89 Steve Smith Sr.
Hmm.
Yeah. What do we have for Tiempo
And
there?
then you click on
It's like an
Keenan,
hour
it
and a
says
half.
We're at
6'2".
120, so if we want to real quick
Yeah.
do the next part, and
Yeah,
then
for
we
sure.
can wrap it
All
up.
right, so we wanted to real quick with some training camps actually starting as of I believe today. Did some start yesterday?
I believe it was
The
today or
Ravens.
yesterday. Maybe reporting yesterday, starting today,
Yeah.
something like
I
that.
think the Steelers report in like 8 days. I think the mandatory mini or the rookie stuff like that, different things like that are starting up here pretty
Yeah.
soon. The question was, what is one hypothetical like trade or surprising cut that you guys think is going to happen before the season starts? Something you were excited for, somewhat realistic. Don't make it like, oh, CeeDee Lamb for a 5th round pick to the Kansas City Chiefs. Like that's not going to happen, right?
Honestly, I have no good answers off the top of my head, so I'm gonna
So-
go with Jordan Addison.
Jordan Addison.
To what or what do you think he's going to
suspension.
just out of the league?
Not the other league.
It's
No,
wild
but-
that he did that after Makai Blackman dies.
Did you see what he did today?
Hey,
That's
He was
it.
drinking.
Did,
Story where he was
did you,
drinking by
did you
himself.
put that in the group
Yeah,
chat?
I
or
sent-
was
I
it
sent
him?
it
You
to the
did,
group
that's
He
chat.
right.
put that,
Yes,
and
yes.
it's a Snapchat of him drinking like a mimosa or something. Yeah.
By
Zero
himself?
self-awareness.
Hey,
Pit legend.
I don't have one necessarily.
He's a-
no.
He's a USC Trojan. He's a USC
You
Trojan.
wanted him.
Yeah.
I understand.
He abandoned
You
us.
wanted him.
Anyway.
Let's go back to like night last time we talked about like the Vikings and see what was said about Jordan Addison. Probably like, he's a Pitt Panther.
No, I did. I hate him. I can't stand him.
He
betrayed us.
He was off the Jordan Addison train before that draft because of
Yeah.
him
I think
leaving.
when-
Like, he was
Because
like, I don't want
Josie
to.
was like the
I
Pickett
thought-
Addison
I was
connection. I was
gonna
like,
say, I
screw
thought you
him.
wanted Addison because he played with Kenny.
No, he's dead to me.
He did. He was always off
Oh, okay.
Addison. I can
I'm
tell
a
you with
Zay
absolute
Flowers
certainty.
guy. I'm a Zay
Yes.
Flowers guy.
He-
all
yes.
the way.
I did know
should have
that.
drafted Flowers.
All right. So yes.
Anyway, I don't necessarily
The Chief.
Anyways, not necessarily before the season, but and I don't think this is like a high likelihood of happening, but it wouldn't surprise me if come trade deadline the Browns move off Amari Cooper and trade him to a team that
He
like
wants a new
needs him.
contract. I
Yeah,
don't hate that.
I wouldn't be surprised if we traded him because like as far as like long term, he's got like this year and maybe one more if we decide to keep him.
Yeah.
But I could see us trading him to a contender or like a team like if their number one goes down and they're contending like I could see us shipping him to the NFC.
Yeah, I can see that.
Maybe Philly if like one of those guys gets hurt.
Maybe if the Commanders don't get
Ayuk.
Brandon.
Yeah,
Ayuk
because like
and-
I know we do a lot of deals with Philly and like we just have that connection with Andrew Berry. So like let's say AJ Brown tears his Achilles in week 5, like knock on something for AJ Brown.
What are
to
you
not
gonna
get
knock
hurt.
on?
I was gonna knock on
He
this
looked
one.
right at-
I was looking for wood, okay? Anyway, but I could see us like doing something like that if like
That's a valid one.
especially if Jerry Jeudy plays like how we think he is, like, and we still have him, Elijah Moore, if
Can I have a
Cedric
red?
Tillman, like pans out the way the Browns want, like
Good.
we have a lot of like depth if the people perform how we think.
Who they draft this year?
Jamari Thrash
Yes,
out of
Thrash, thank you.
Louisville.
Cedric Tillman, yeah.
Yeah,
last
so
year.
Cedric Tillman pans out, and then we've got the Chief, and then Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore. Like we've got a lot of pieces to where like if we
Harrison
traded.
I like Harrison.
He's
Bryant.
not even with us anymore. I think he's with the Raiders. He wasn't even with us last year.
I think
But-
Raiders.
Yeah.
That's your
what
surprise
is his,
guy.
what is his name that I'm trying to think of? Carl Nassib type beat. Got his kids cut. Anyway. But yeah, I could see that happening. Maybe I don't necessarily, not necessarily like I think we could trade him for like either draft capable or like depth in the secondary.
Third for Amari
Yeah.
Cooper right now.
I mean, we got him for a 5th,
Yeah.
I believe.
Oh,
So.
that's yeah.
That was wild.
Depends on what contract.
Yeah.
I would say that and this won't happen just because of in division, but all the Steeler fans clamoring for Brandon Ayuk, and like I said, it won't happen.
Mhm.
I would prefer Amari Cooper 10 times over Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
Cheaper.
I was actually just talking. Do you
Cheaper,
think?
more
Not gonna get
consistent.
31.
Do you
$1 million.
think Amari Cooper's better than Brandon Ayuk?
Yeah.
See, I would say that too. I was having a conversation with someone earlier today. They're like, Brandon Ayuk's just going to get paid like he's a top 10, top 7 receiver. And I'm like, dude, there's no way. Like,
I don't think he's that, but like that's the thing. When I was doing my top 50 wide receivers, there's 30 wide receivers that are top 15.
yeah. I
Like,
mean, there's a
that's the-
lot of
like-
really good receivers.
Like that's the thing in today's NFL.
yeah,
where,
there's so
like,
many good ones. I think Brandon Ayuk probably falls in that 15 to 20 range in like my personal list.
I put him in like the mid 20s. There's that many dudes.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is like, I mean,
Especially
there's
when
like
you're
your
adding
for
in
sure.
rookies coming in.
Yeah, like there's your for sure guys, and then
Or
there's a
Jared
lot of the like Brandon
Harrison.
Ayuk's, Olave's, Garrett Wilson's, Waddles. Like there's so many
I
of
make
those that are
Waddles
like
lower.
2s on teams that are actually 1s. Like T Higgins is another guy that's like could be a 1. Like there's so many teams that have 2s that are 1s. Like it's insane.
Here's what I would say: George Pickens. Even if he hasn't shown it yet, I'm taking George Pickens over Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Like,
I mean, I think he has more upside, but
Mhm.
right now, like if Ayuk's been better, I mean, he's played a little longer, but
so I wanted to go a little bit off the beat.
Mm.
I think the easiest ones to look at are running backs. Running backs with any sort of cap hit, even if it's just like $1 million, like chances are they're getting the can. Miles Sanders is an obvious one for Carolina right now. Chuba Hubbard is a more than capable back.
Yeah.
Jonathan Brooks was the highest
Got
drafted
drafted,
running
yeah.
back. Like
Yeah.
Miles Sanders is going to be shown the door. I'm surprised he honestly hasn't yet.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Spot Track right now because James Bradbury really came to my mind just because Darius Slay is not going anywhere. Cooper DeJean is there in that kind of hybrid role.
They drafted two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quinyon Mitchell is the best
corner.
corner.
James Bradbury. Like
Avonte
James,
Maddox coming back from injury. They have
Dude,
a
the
slot.
Eagles had a really nice
unless you
draft.
could get a second or a third for Darius Slay, you're cutting James Bradbury.
Here's the thing. I'm looking at it right now, and I don't know if this is right. I don't know how to read it, but it's saying that he only has a $4.3 million cap hit this year, which is not bad at all, and there is $15 million in dead cap. So I don't know how realistic that is. I don't know if Spot Track's accurate or if I'm reading this the right way, but that might not be realistic. The other one is Cam Sutton for the Steelers. He was suspended 8 games.
Yeah.
Let's say the Steelers end up solving their problem in the slot, whether that's a young guy like Darius Rush or Kerry Trice stepping up, whether that's somebody not on the roster right now. The Steelers might say, you know what, it's not worth it. It was low risk, medium reward anyway with Cam Sutton, but you know what, we're not going to take more of the bad PR.
Yeah.
We're not going to wait 8 games for him to come back. Let's just cut our
And
losses.
on top of that, Ryan Watts played corner at Texas, right? Even though he's a safety in the NFL, I think he played corner at
Yeah,
Texas.
he's another
So
guy.
maybe he could be
Yeah.
the slot. I don't know.
Is Cam Sutton the guy that went from Steelers to Detroit and then
Yeah.
back?
But here's the thing: Cam Sutton is a really, really good slot
He
receiver.
is.
Detroit tried to put him on the outside in man coverage
He
against
struggled,
number ones,
yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
not what Cam Sutton is. Cam Sutton is a very, very capable slot corner, like good,
Yeah,
like
no, he's
probably
very
a
good.
top 5 slot corner in the league when he was with the Steelers.
I mean, same thing when Mike Hilton was there with the Steelers. Like, he was
Dude,
insane in the
Mike
slot.
Hilton's
But so those are my 2.
Yeah. I have 2. One's a little bit more realistic, and one's a little bit wishful thinking because 3-team trades don't happen in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll go with the 3-team trade first because it's probably a little less realistic, but I think it works out well for pretty much all the teams involved. And it is. I did come up with this before the news about Brandon Ayuk's trade request this morning. So the trade would be Brandon Ayuk to the Commanders
Yeah.
for Terry McLaurin and a 4th, which would be the hard, convincing point to give them a 4th and Terry McLaurin. The 49ers turn around and trade Terry McLaurin to Pittsburgh for a 2nd-round pick. So the Niners get a 2nd and a 4th for Brandon Ayuk, and it goes.
And
the
then
Steelers get a
Ayuk
number
gets
2.
Commanders.
I like that so much better than trading for Ayuk. And
Yeah,
Terry
me too.
McLaurin's like 29
Terry
already, and I'm
McLaurin is
still
one of
going.
the most underrated
So what are the
receivers.
Steelers giving up?
The
Second.
Steelers give a 2nd for Terry McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin's really old, like because he came into the league at over 24.
Yeah.
I'm still taking that over.
Me too. Because he fits a number 2 role better than Brandon Ayuk does. If there's anything that this whole situation is showing, is that Brandon Ayuk does not want to be a number 2. He wants to be paid like a number 1, and he wants to get the targets of a number 1, and he's not going to get that in Pittsburgh.
No, I think he will end up with the Commanders. I think that's
I
the
think so,
fit. I think him and Jaden Daniels could potentially be really good together. I think Brandon Ayuk is awesome. So like,
Yeah. I think that the hard selling point is the Commanders giving up Terry and a 4th.
yeah, I don't think. I
don't
mean,
know that
if,
they-
Ja-
I was
gonna
if
say,
Jahan
if you're the
Dotson
Commanders,
pans
would you
out,
rather have Ayuk or a 2nd-rounder?
Who? I'm sorry.
If
Who?
you're the Commanders, would you rather have Ayuk or a 2nd-rounder?
I mean, if you're that sold on Ayuk and you think that Jaden Daniels, your future quarterback, wants Ayuk, then you go ahead and get Ayuk. I would take Ayuk over a 2nd because
Yeah.
you're not going to get Ayuk. You're not going to get an Ayuk caliber receiver next year in the
Or I
draft
guess would
in
you
the
rather
2nd round.
have? Yeah, because my only issue with that would be why wouldn't the Commanders just trade McLaurin straight
Because-
to the Steelers instead
because
of
you-
giving up
because
a
you
4th
want another
and-
receiver.
Because Josie wanted to have fun with a 3-team
did.
trade.
But I like
3-team
that.
trades
I
never
like-
happen.
I like
They
the
happen in the
creativity.
NBA all the time.
Yeah,
all
like
the time.
literally
We would
one
always try
just
to do them
happened.
on Madden.
I like 3-team
It was
trades, and
fun.
I'm
We did
waiting
do
for the
them.
day
Our
that
connected
happens.
franchises would have been so
Yeah.
good on Twitch.
Like, I love what happens for all 3 of those teams in this situation. I just think that the Commanders are giving up the most in order to get Ayuk, but their quarterback wants Ayuk, and you do what your rookie quarterback wants when you take him with the 2nd overall pick. That's just the
Yes.
reality of the situation. The more realistic one, if Joe Burrow goes down this year, T. Higgins gets traded before the trade deadline. If Joe Burrow goes down and they have no chance of
Yeah.
going into the
When he
playoffs,
goes
making a
down.
run, T. Higgins gets traded before the trade
Here's the
deadline.
caveat to that. If you're the Bengals and you're trading T. Higgins for around half a season left with the team, and the team's going to have to pay him, you have to be getting more than a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, and I don't
And
think
they
a
would.
lot-
If a
Because
team,
otherwise, you're just going to
Team
take the
giving
car
up a
pick.
third.
That's the
I think
problem
if
with
it's-
trades like
I don't
those.
think a
where-
team's giving up a 2nd for.
No, I think if a
If you're
team
on a
if a
run.
team's desperate enough or like is going for it all, they will.
It
pay,
has happened.
They will overpay.
The
for
Rams, the
it.
Rams gave up a 2nd-rounder for an aging Von Miller who left. Like,
Yeah,
it's
it's like you-
it's possible with how many wide receivers there are out there. I'm not the biggest T. Higgins guy. I personally would not do it. I'm very much on the
Not for a
conservative
rest.
side.
I mean, T. Higgins
He had
works.
another-
T.
he had
Higgins
one
works a
more year,
lot
maybe.
better when he's paired with someone else on that level. Like when, if like, it's like Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Like you have that bigger receiver, but then you have someone who runs routes. So like when you have all of that, I don't think T. Higgins will be at his best if he's like the only number 1 option.
It has to be a really desperate team, and
Yeah.
the only 2 teams that I think are that desperate are the Eagles and the Cowboys. And here's the thing:
CD goes down, or
See,
Not
the
even.
Cowboys,
Not even. Like they need a number 2.
the
But-
Cowboys, I could see doing it.
That's
The
what-
Eagles,
that's
I'm not, because even if Nick Sirianni is gone, Howie Roseman, speaking of my man crushes, he's safe no matter
gonna
what.
get him
So
for a 5th round
he's
pick.
not going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
How's,
I would say Dallas is the only place that really makes sense.
That would be
Yeah.
so awesome to see him in Dallas.
How's the
See, I
Bengals?
hate Dallas, but I would love it as for.
How's the Bengals line looking this year?
It's okay. It's a little
They got
better.
Amarius Mims, so
Little
he'll probably
better than
start
last
day
They have a
one.
really big group of tackles.
Yeah, a little better
between,
than last year.
Trent Brown, you have
Isn't
Orlando
Orlando
Brown
Brown
there, and then you draft Amari Smith. So I don't know.
6'8", right?
Yeah, they have 3 of the tallest and heaviest tackles in the league.
So
I don't know
Burrow
what
might
the
stay
plan is
healthy
there.
then.
We'll see.
It all depends.
Ted Karras at center. I think Cedric
Yeah, their
Volson
centers.
is at one of the guards. I forget the other one.
It's,
Alex Kappa.
it's better than it was Joe Burrow's rookie or second year. Let's put it that way. But I wouldn't say it's
Yeah, I mean,
anywhere.
that was a joke.
I wouldn't even say it's top 16 line.
No.
in the
I would
league.
say it's
Maybe
fran-
top.
I would say it's
top
fran-
20.
it's middle tier. I
Top
would say.
20.
Yeah, I would say it's somewhere in the range of like 18 to 22
So, like,
would be where I
30th,
would say it's at.
where
Yeah,
they were.
instead of
Yeah.
32nd. Yeah. No, 32nd's the Commanders. Let's be
Commanders over
honest.
here.
Yeah,
That was a
yeah.
fun weekly.
Sam Howell's
the,
sack
the
update.
update on the Sam Howell sack. Yeah, but yeah, I think I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it kind of keeps us busy until the
We
season
should
comes around.
one time
Those
we should just
hypotheticals.
play around with maybe we're all teams and we try to do like a 4-team trade.
Okay.
I
Kind of like
think-
what
I
we
think-
do at the draft, but just
I think it'd be hard, but like, hey, and then just work it out so everybody's trading away and getting something that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Like we just do a random team generator, and then we
We all
each
get a
get we
team.
get a team, and like we need to like
That'd
make
be
it work
hard.
to get
Alright.
to everybody gets an equal fair amount of.
Right? And
All
everybody
right,
can
yeah.
justify why they did what they did.
Man, that'd be fun.
good episode, guys.
Yeah.
All right. So for all of our fans, homework for this week: look at Jerome Simpson's forehead. Look at Terrell Owens' other work tab on Wikipedia. And 3, please, for the love of God, find a picture of Cordy Glenn wearing goggles, because I swear he was wearing them in one of the Maddens. I do need to go back and look at like those Madden 15, Madden 16, Madden 25 pictures, because I swear. But this has been the Second and Short podcast. We'll see you next time.